unconscious for like 4, maybe 5 minutes in the water. Yes. You heard that right, ladies and gentlemen. Long time ago, Nelacthebeatninja was not supposed to be alive.
We're live. What's going on? How are you doing today?
I'm good, man. I'm chilling.
Dude, I'm so glad to have you in here. And I appreciate you for setting up the interview time. And to get sorry about the fucking, it got all weird. I was like, oh no, this isn't the right time. I have a job too. So thank you for doing it. Yeah, man, I was like, I looked at the time and I was like, 2 o'clock. Like, I have a meeting. No, I can't do that. I'm like, wait, what the fuck? And I'm like, this shit's set up wrong.
Okay. Hey,
you
that's understandable.
You've been doing this for a minute.
Yeah.
And help me again, Francois. You corrected me as well. NELAC.
Mm-hmm.
NELAC, the Beat Ninja.
Yeah. I know a lot of folks have been hearing a lot of people saying NELAC a lot, and like I have some close friends that I kind of let that slide, but no, the actual pronunciation is indeed supposed to be NELAC. That was my intention.
Where does the name come from?
Basically, my government name's spelled backwards.
Wait.
Yeah.
Oh shit!
That's literally where the whole premise came from.
What?
Yeah. And initially, when I was trying to figure out the whole, name situation, as far as how I wanted to present myself as a creative. Starting as an artist, and then when I started playing around with the whole idea of having 2 different personalities, one as an artist and one as a producer, I have been playing around with names. As an artist, I initially was going by the name Sea Lord. It's a name that one of my high school homies gave me. Okay. And I kind of it kind of stuck with me and went with it. But then after a while, I thought about it. I was like, there's a long story behind the reason why my dad didn't like the name Sea Lord. Because initially I started off doing holy hip hop. It's real deep in the gospel rapping. Grew up listening to gospel. I pretty much grew up listening to everything. Okay. But when we had this bit of a debate over the name and stuff, and I was like, I guess I'll try to figure out something that actually works best. And
did you not like the Lord part of the name?
It had a lot to do with the Lord part, because the whole concept was my name is Kalen and I'm one with the Lord.
Right.
See Lord. That was that was it. You know what I'm saying? But there was but we had a bit of a debate about that. It's like, all right, fine, I'll change it. And I'm from that Black Planet era. So I had 3 different Black Planet pages. I had one for the Sea Lord joint. I had one that I called Lyrical Preacher.
Okay.
With the A, like preacher. And I was again playing around with these things. And then when I thought about it, I was like, oh, that's right, I got a Black Planet page called Lyrical Preacher. I could take that, but spell it correctly, preacher. And so that was 2003. Yeah, that was 2003. Since then, or it could have been end of 2002. I don't even remember anymore. But it was 02, 03. I decided to go by Kalen Johnson, the Lyrical Preacher.
Okay. That's a dope line.
Yeah, and so, but then after a while, I was I started getting more comfortable with just calling myself Lyrical Preacher or LP for sure. So a lot of my OGs, a lot of people that met me when I first moved down here, 07, pursuing my music as an artist first, but also was still kind of playing around with trying to promote myself as a producer as well. Initially, I was going by C Johnson, like C Johnson. But then I was like, I want to get more creative with it. And so I thought about it. And I know there have been some certain industries where people would like flip their name backwards. I was like, let me try that. Okay, Calen, CALEN, flip it, NELAC. How would I pronounce it? NELAC. I like the way that sounds. Yeah. So I decided to go by the name NELAC since 07-ish.
So where does the Beat Ninja come in?
That actually came later. Like because initially I was just going by either NELAC or NELAC the Pharaoh of Music. I was playing around with the different names.
Okay, and also real quick, I was born in '95.
Okay.
What is Black Planet?
Youngin.
It sounds like a website.
We got Youngin. Oh yeah, it was a website. It was let's just say it was Facebook, MySpace before Facebook and MySpace.
Okay.
Where you had profile pages where you could update it. You could put personal messages. There was also like a guest book, so like your friends could sign the guest book. This was like online web pages where you can like, you know, one of those first pieces of the internet where you could like, you know, display yourself personally and show your personality. And it was also one of those first social communities, online communities that was really open source code wise. So the HTML was open.
So you could fuck around with how your page looked and all that kind of stuff if you knew how to use HTML.
Exactly. And everybody swore up and down they knew how to do like website designs and things of that nature, because like you had the basic designs, but then if you knew how to like pull from find different wallpapers, know how to do the marquee and things and create all this stuff. We all did that. Like all my friends that had like a Black Planet page, we either had somebody do it for them, or me, I learned how to do that stuff myself. So I was always updating my stuff. So I was learning how to do the HTML things. And it's like imagine it's one of those things when I think back at that period. It's like, imagine if I like took that seriously.
You learn more.
Yeah, and learn more and more. Like I could have had a career as a web designer.
Like,
that was one of them things.
Straight up. Like what?
Right. Exactly like what Ambiance is saying. Like Black Planet was really tagged before tag. Like Black MySpace essentially. Yeah, it's like, and you could do the same because you could do the same thing on MySpace. You know what I'm saying? Like you could update your MySpace page the same way. You mess around with the but before that, we were doing that on Black Planet. And then they also had like the Spanish version of Black Planet called Mi Gente as well. Like they had that same community, same type of community. I think Mi Gente was created by the same people who made Black Planet. During that period of time. So like it fun times. I miss those times.
Okay. I want to know more about these times. Okay.
Yeah. So it's essentially like what it's essentially like a slimmed down version of what Facebook was. You know what I'm saying?
Were people using that to like promote parties and shit like that? Or were they just using it for like personal?
It was primarily personal from what I remember. It was just like it was and we could always update the messages on there and stuff like that. Because I remember at one point in time I was using my Black Planet pages for like putting out positive messages and things of that nature. A little bit of information about myself, what school I go to. I went to Largo High School in Maryland.
That's literally what I was about to ask you after you talked about Black Planet. Where are you from?
But Maryland is where I'm from. Grew up in PG County, specifically Forestville. A lot of my family is from DC, born and raised southeast DC. So it's through that association and always going back and forth between Maryland and DC. When my dad worked in DC, and also when my mom worked in DC, and I also had like aunts and uncles that also lived in DC. So DC literally is my second home by way of that, always being in DC and stuff. So, but yeah, like I was PG County, lived in Forestville for a good chunk of my life, and then I would say around the time when I think my second year of high school, my dad and my stepmom, we moved up to, and her son, we moved to this spot called Lake Arbor. It was like a housing community in the Mitchellville, Largo area. And so like Largo was also like, so I ended up being closer to my school in the Upper Marlboro area. So so DMV all day.
What brought you? So wait, okay, then let's keep diving in. How did you get into music? Like you said, you listened to a lot of gospel earlier, and you kind of grew up on that. What else? Like, how did you really start getting introduced to music?
Well, the gospel aspect didn't really come until I would say 95, 96 ish, because I started adding gospel to the mix because I was listening to everything else. Because growing up, there was a lot of music in the family. My dad wasn't a musician per se, but he had a really good ear for music because he had musicians in the family. My uncle played drums. I'm talking about like on some Billy Cobham, Lenny White level proficiency for those who know about those drummers. But if you don't, do your research. Jazz fusion, all them Lenny White, Billy Cobham, and so a bunch of other drummers.
I'm going to look them up. I know. So Anthony's is my brother. I know he knows because he used to play drums.
Okay, nice. Cool. But those were like my two all-time favorite drummers. And my grandfather, rest in peace, my dad's dad, he also played congas, during the period of time. Very cool. Unfortunately, he wasn't playing when I was growing up, but I always heard stories about how good he was, and how he was always playing in the house, listening to Latin music and playing along, and that actually like playing on professional level.
Is it like a cultural interest, or do you have Spanish in your family?
No. To my knowledge, I do not. Right now, I really do need to do this research. I've been wanting to do this for a long time to find out like what what's part of my ancestry or bloodline. But as far as I know, no. Okay. He's just a huge fan of Latin music when he was alive. In regards to that, and I feel like by association, all that kind of influenced me, because when my dad and my two uncles at one point in time were living together, their record collection was like together, and together it was massive. Like, imagine I'm looking in this room right now. If you took this side of the wall all the way to the end on the floor, those were the roll records. Damn. You talking about like on some like digging in the crate type level. It was like they were all lined up on the floor, and it was like collective. So it was like it was there's three of their collections combined. So I may have seen some duplicates.
Excuse me. Think RP.
There's Mrs. Domino's calling, letting you know that your order is on the way. Please remember to leave your...
God damn it, Domino's. You had your father and your uncle had this record collection spread across the floor.
Yeah, so across the floor, like from this side to that side, and the rows were like this long, stacked. So you talking about hundreds of records between the three of them. And before I moved in with my dad when I was 7, I used to, and also even when I moved into him, like between those times visiting him and when I was living with him, because they had everything in the den. With the way the apartment was set up, you had like two you had 2 bedrooms, and then you had a den section where, depending on the family, you could have that as an extra bedroom, or you can have that set up as like an entertainment area. Yeah. They had that den area set up as an entertainment center, so that was where the TV was, that's where the VCR was, and everything else. And on that side, on the floor, that's where all the records were. And so I used to always go over there, always flipping through, looking at the credits, looking at the artwork, looking inside. And that was back when they used to have lyrics in the sleeves and things of that nature. And just flipping through all the Michael Jackson stuff, that, you know, the little bit of hip hop that they had, and all the music that they had was various styles, from R&B to jazz, to movie soundtracks, to, again, hip hop, because this was like the late 80s, early 90s. I'm 83, and so there was so much great music that was out during that time. They had those records. So it was
like the old LL Cool J record. Did they have a message from Grandmaster Flash and the Furious 5?
I'm pretty sure they did. I don't remember. I do remember seeing Ice-T in there. They did have Ice-T, and I think
original Ice.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
And if I remember correctly, I think they also had the 2 Live Crew record in there as well. But I do believe I remember seeing this nasty.
But then they probably had MJ, so they had to have Prince. They had to have Marvin Gaye.
They had all
probably some Eddie Taylor if they were a little bit older.
My God. They had all of that. And from classic records to the current records at that time, during, you know, from the new edition, all the Jimmy Jam, Terry Lewis produced stuff, which that songwriting production powerhouse I've always been a huge fan of. I've always been a huge fan of Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis. But yeah, it was quite a time.
Yeah, you brought the treasure trove of music.
Yeah.
And so you hang out with your dad, you probably get to just listen to it kind of whenever you want to after a certain period of time.
Yeah. Now, and over time, because of moving and things of that nature, they initially had gotten rid of their collection, like sold their vinyls off and things of that nature. At one point in time when I was older, my dad only had like a small collection, and to this day I wish he kept it, because, like, you know, had I known that I would have picked up this vinyl habit that I have now. I'm trying to build my vinyl collection. Like, one of my goals has always been to one day build my collection to the size that they used to have.
That's what's up.
You know what I'm saying? and including also, like, trying to find the records that they had. So far, I found a good number. Like certain Herbie Hancock records, I found Swing Out Sister joints, Prince joints, Michael Jackson joints, Jackson 5 joints. So far, I've found some. I've been very lucky to have found a couple of records that they used to have when I was little, and that's been pretty exciting to me.
Did you have like a list of records that they had, or was it just off your memory?
No, just going based off of memory. Yeah, based off of memory. Yeah.
When did you start getting into collecting records?
A couple of years ago, as a matter of fact. I want to say it was either around 2017, 2018. It was around the time after I had joined the Controlerize Collective. Gotcha. Big shout out to the Controlerize squad. I can't wait till May 22nd. Just saying. Just saying. Yeah, but it was around that time, like 2017, 2018, when I started actually going to the record stores, like Criminal Records here, Wax and Facts, as well as Moods Music, all in that area in the low 5 points. Those were like the main spots that I usually go to. I know this past February I took a week off after dealing with some personal stuff. Because I know in one of the questions that you had sent me, you had mentioned the teaching, as far as like the teaching aspect of my career. Yeah. I am currently in between jobs right now. Gotcha, long story. So I went back home for a week. To kind of decompress. And during that time out there, I actually traveled to DC to do some record digging and got a couple of joints from there too while I was up there too. So yeah. It's like and that's just it's like a pastime kind of music related hobby that I always wanted to get into, and I'm it brings me joy.
So your dad had this large collection. It sounds like you've had music run through your family. How did that progress as you got older?
Yeah. The interest in music ended up coming later on, and it actually started in like my last year of elementary school when I with me being a fan of jazz. One of the main instruments that kind of stood out to me that I really like always had an interest in wanting to play was the saxophone. And I remember at one point in time, this last year at elementary school, was bugging him about wanting to learn an instrument. I kept talking about how I wanted to learn to play the saxophone. And so he went on ahead and he actually went and made that sacrifice. He saw my interest, renting the saxophone, and that's where like the musical aspect of my life began with me. Because prior to that, I was huge fan of music. I kind of sort of was playing with the idea of wanting to get into music even then. Okay. But I wasn't as serious about it as I was wanting to get into acting and stuff, because I did did take like drama lessons through my before and after care program that I was part of, and we did plays and things of that nature. And but
I'm still listening.
Yeah. And so during that period of time, that same year when I was learning how to play saxophone, that's when I started like messing around with trying to see if I could come up with some lyrics. Still wasn't as serious. Still wasn't like too serious about it. I was serious about wanting to learn that saxophone, so I like played in the ensemble there. Alto saxophone was the instrument that I was playing, and I was kind of sort of like messing around with the idea.
Okay.
Wasn't overtly serious about it, but fast forward me going to middle school, the gospel music aspect of it, as far as me listening to gospel, came after this pool accident that I had.
Pool accident?
Yeah.
Did you almost drown? Oh.
Unconscious for like 4, maybe 5 minutes in the water. Yes. You heard that right, ladies and gentlemen. Long time ago, Nelacthebeatninja was not supposed to be alive.
For real? What the hell?
But I'm here. Thank God.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah, thank God.
That would lead me to listen to gospel too.
Yeah. That same year, I joined the church down the street from my mom's house. My first experience of per se getting saved or what have you.
Okay.
And
what kind of church was it?
It was the denomination was Church of God.
Okay.
Denomination was Church of God, but then like a few years after that, when I was living with my dad, I started going to this church in Fort Washington called Ebenezer AME Church. And I still consider that my home church whenever I go home.
Okay.
And so and because the thing I like the best about that church, why I will always consider that my primary church whenever I'm home, is because of the way that the message in the sermon is presented by the pastor.
Okay.
And he uses a lot of Black history. Thank you. He always taps into a lot of Black history in his sermons, and that's one thing I always appreciated about that. So fast forward. I'm getting ready to finish up my first year in middle school, which
quick. Are you still playing saxophone at all?
Off and on.
Okay.
I'm not as serious as I was, only because brain time.
But you kind of know how to play saxophone though. Then.
No, I still got the muscle memory for it. I still know the notes for it. I still know how to play it.
Damn.
I mean, like, honestly, to be honest, I think the last time I played was last month, I think.
Really?
Yeah. I had a gig last month and played. I definitely had to dust the cobwebs off my fingers and my muscle memory and stuff. But I still play. I just have to get back into practicing more, so that way I can get my groove back.
Okay.
but I still know how to play. Still know how to write music for it and stuff. So yeah.
So we fast forward to middle school.
Yeah. And that first year was a very interesting year because there was a lot of bullying, a lot of bullying, things of that nature. So my initial desire to want to get into music was kind of sparked by me wanting to be popular because of that. And thankfully, because of my upbringing, I never let it bother me. As opposed to some people, they have different experiences. They have there's some trauma, there's some depression, things of that nature.
Yeah.
But thankfully for me, because of my upbringing, all it did was just motivate me to find something that would be like, haha, what now? What? that was initially what it was. Of course, now I'm way past that phase. All I care about is knocking people's heads off with music, and also making people feel good, and trying to give you positive vibes with the music. That's the primary thing now. But back then it was one of them things.
He was out here like, you will never defeat me.
Right? It's like, one of these days
you will get me down.
Yeah. So and I really have. That was the catalyst, that 95, 96 year, my seventh grade year in middle school, because it was during that period of time, the music that was out during then, you want to talk about incredible.
Tell me about it. You said 95, 96?
That 95,
so this
96.
is like, for me, especially with hip hop, that's like Tribe era, that's De La Soul era, that's Fuji's era, that is, there is, actually, I think Lil Wayne had just started really rapping and getting a little popular then. No, that didn't come out till 99. I'm thinking of Way of Life.
I think but if I'm not mistaken, and New Orleans rap enthusiasts, please feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. If I'm not mistaken, I think he is still, because I know he was a teenager, and I think it was around that time that he had joined Cash Money. I think. Yeah. But it wasn't. But it wasn't until and he was doing the thing, as part of the Hot Boys and stuff as a teenager. But I believe it wasn't until Back That Ass Up came out. Yeah. That everybody's like, because I know for me that's what introduced me to Lil Wayne. Yeah. So because that was also during that time, that 98, 99 when Cash Money and No Limit was doing their thing too.
What were you listening to in this time?
But that time frame, 95, 96. That was when Biggie was out. Mm-hmm. That was when Tupac was getting ready to come out with All Eyes on Me in '96. Mm-hmm. So Snoop Dogg was out. Dr. Dre was out. Like you said, Fugees.
Timbaland was doing shit then. If Dr. Dre
Timbaland and Missy was '96 because that was when the One in a Million album came out in the summer. Mm-hmm. Farside was out with the Lab Cabin California album. It was like middle to end of '95 when the song Running hit the airwaves.
Oh my god!
And it was like I still remember the first time I heard it on the radio and stuff. And I really heard it when the show New York Undercover was out. There was an episode, and how for those who know about the show New York Undercover, it was like a cop. Yeah, it was a cop drama based in New York, and two undercover cops, and talking about all the different like missions that they had. There was one in which they had to go undercover in a high school. One was going undercover as a substitute teacher. Another one was going undercover as a janitor. In that episode, all the episodes. The thing that made their show stand out a lot was the music that they always played.
Okay.
And these were like hits, radio hits, music video hits, like from rap to R&B to classic tracks and stuff. And Running was one of those songs that they played.
So cool.
They played the song like in the intro as well.
It was Black and Latino law.
Right, exactly. Honestly, that is the perfect way to describe that. It was like Law and Order, but in an urban sense, because it was like because of the two main characters on there.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, Running was one of the tracks that they was the track that they highlighted in that particular episode of New York Undercover. And because of the message behind that song, and of course how dope the damn music was.
Telling you.
Shout out to Jay Dilla. And, you know what I'm saying? Like, he put his foot in there. It's like, and we gonna talk about Jay Dilla, about how, like, why he's such a huge influence on me in regards to that, because it all has a lot to do with this era as well too.
Mm-hmm.
And why he's such a huge influence on me. But you had all those tracks out. You had Busta Rhymes finally coming out with some solo stuff. That was when the Woo High single was out during that time.
Oh yeah. What was the name of the Extinction Level event?
No, that came out in '99.
That was okay. That wasn't
yeah, no, that was his first his solo joint that came out in '96 was The Coming.
Yes, I heard that album. Yes.
Yeah, The Coming. And all the tracks that came out, and of course Fugees was out with the score. The Roots was out with their Organics out. I'm trying to remember Illadelph Half-Life was the album. The Illadelph Half-Life album, where even though I wasn't familiar with the Roots, I actually do remember seeing one of their music videos before during that period of time. And then the music videos was like amazing too. That was when Crossroads was out with the East 1999 album with Bone Thugs and Harmony.
Okay, I have to listen to that.
Yeah. So you had Crossroads that was out. SWV was out. Bad Boy was doing their thing with Faith Man out. Lil Kim out. You had so much freaking music that was out. Oh my God, man.
Your teenage years and preteen years had to be amazing.
Yeah.
I can't even keep going. Just jeez.
So the more I kept on hearing all this music, the more the influence and the desire to want to do music just started growing inside of me, and to the point where I actually ended up writing my first rap, which was I wasn't necessarily considering myself gospel at the time, but it was a message song. This joint that's on my first album that I released in 2004 called the song was called The Valley of Hell, and I was trying to do a lot of the influence behind the message in the song came from this female rapper that was based out of the DMV area, specifically DC. She had this song called 5 o'clock in the morning. Her name is Nonchalant. And I was really influenced a lot by that message, and it was like, and I was really excited about that, because you talking about, it was a message song that was getting major airplay, the video and the song, from somebody from my neck of the woods. You know what I'm saying? So that was a huge influence. So it was all that music that was out during that time and in the summertime. Not to mention the ATL also played a huge part in that too, and because that was when the ATLians album came out with Elevators and stuff. That was when the So Def the Bass All Stars album that had My Boo was on that record. That was when My Boo came out in the summer of '96. So you had all this music. You had all this music that was coming out. And then on top of that, my dad finds out about this music school. That's this Christian-based music school that had a summer program called Back to Basics. He enrolled me into the program, if I remember correctly, I think it was because around that time I ended up teaching myself something on the piano. I think I don't remember how it went, but because yeah, I'm trying to. I honestly don't remember how that worked out. But bottom line, long story short, he enrolls me in the program. I'm learning voice, piano, and drama. Cause I still had this, this interest and desire, wanting to do
the arts.
Wanting to do acting, wanting to do acting and stuff. And it was that experience that kind of sealed the deal. Okay. In which that's why I always credit '96 as being that year that I decided to pursue music as a career. Okay. And it began from there with teaching myself. On top of the music lessons that I was learning, the piano lessons that I was learning from the book that was given us, but then the teacher, my instructor, saw something in me. So offline per se, even though it really wasn't any online. That was '96 was the year that the internet first went public during that time too.
Feel free to eat as well.
Oh yeah, no problem.
Chat, just kick back, bro.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's I forgot. McPanther was shout out DMV. At 5 o'clock in the morning, where you going to be? Outside on the corner. So you know about that song. You know about that, but that was the hook to the Nonchalant song that I was talking about earlier. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So outside of class, he would teach me some things and teach me chords and stuff. And he mentioned to my dad about making sure that I keep up with it because of how quickly I was picking it up. Okay. Like I had a really good ear for music, which I would find out later on in college. That's because I had perfect pitch. That I didn't know that it had a name.
What? Okay, can you explain that to me?
Anything played, I know the pitch for it, and would be able to immediately tell you.
That's like a known music like gift.
Yeah.
Cause that sounds like a gift.
Yeah. Not everybody has it.
I believe it.
Yeah. Not everybody has it, but there is a way. But there is a way for people for their ears to be trained in it. That's when you call a relative pitch, where your ear has to be trained to be able to identify that aspect of music or whatnot. Okay. But
before you knew that.
Yeah, but before I knew that, I just knew that I could hear the music. Every time I was, singing to my favorite Michael Jackson song, I was a huge Michael Jackson fan. Like, always dancing to it, always singing it at school. Even if I didn't know the words, I would mumble the hell out of that daggone song. But then when I actually finally started learning the words, reading the vinyl records and stuff, oh no, it was over after I started learning the words. But yeah. But I kept up with it and kept learning how to play piano because of the fact that because of that inspiration and that motivation I received from my piano teacher. Yeah, and that's
awesome. You had a solid nurturing environment.
Yeah, no, I definitely appreciate that. And then I have my dad. I have my dad to thank a lot for the continued culmination of that, because he made a promise to my grandmother before she passed away that same year. If I remember correctly, he said that that she told him to invest in, encouraging him to invest in my this aspect of my life, because you see that talent, you see that gift and whatnot. And he ended up doing that. Like my first pieces of equipment that I had, he took out, like he got the musician magazine the little credit card offer that they have and stuff. He went into debt but he, as he always say, he saw it as an investment. Yeah. Even when he paid for me to go to Morehouse, like taking out loans and stuff. he always categorizes and classifies that as an investment into where I am today with my gift now, with me being able to do music and the desire to do music. But yeah, my first like pieces of equipment, he got that with the whole credit load program through Musician's Friend. Yeah, that was 96, 97, with the effects racks and the little 8-track digital mixer that I had, the speakers, the drum machine that I had, the keyboards that I had and stuff. Like, my only like original piece of equipment that I still have, that was part of that was part of that original setup, was my Kurzweil PC88 MX. This classic. You know it's an old school keyboard when it doesn't have speakers in it.
So how did you get the sound out of it? You plug it in?
Plugging it to the system.
Okay,
yeah.
that's what it's doing.
No. Yeah, that's the way a lot of them were built. Yeah. That's the way a lot of the professional keyboards were built. They were built with no speakers.
Other than actual like piano, I don't think in my lifetime I've ever seen a keyboard with no speakers on it.
Yeah.
It always produced sound. When you said that, I was like, wait.
Yeah. Yeah, that's how a lot of them were. But yeah, it was an 88 key. It's an 88 key full-fledged grand piano type keyboard that I still have to this day and still works like a charm because we just really took good care of it. But yeah, that's like when it comes to like instruments, that's the only piece that I still have from that original setup. But yeah, it's like he actually he put in that investment and learned about the music business. He got books that he made me read. He made me read the manual for all of the pieces of equipment before I could touch the equipment and stuff, so that way I could understand. And there were also mixing, mastering, engineering books. So a lot of my engineering mixing skills that I have came from reading those books, as well as during the fall in my 8th grade year, the same school that I went to for that summer program, they also had like a weekend program during the year. And so during then I continued doing piano, but also took audio engineering classes. So that was 96, 97, right?
Yeah.
So you're talking about learning this on the classic 24 track consoles.
Yeah.
And learning what these EQ knobs do, learning what the effects knobs do, learning how to level out using the faders and things of that nature.
Yeah.
Learning how to press record in that on that 2-inch reel. because the studio that was in the facility that the summer camp had, they had like a full-fledged studio with a vocal booth and everything else, with a 2-inch reel and all that stuff. So
you spent your summers and the weekends in the year doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god!
Yeah, during that period of time.
That explains so
much. It just continued from there. And with the saxophone, I continued playing in like ensembles, because during that time I was playing in the concert band. And then when I got to high school, I continued in the concert band and played in the marching band. And that's where the band head side of me with marching bands came from.
Did you play in band?
I played saxophone. Like everything I did, I played saxophone. Yeah, and also got a chance to play in the stage band. That was like kind of like our little our stage group. It wasn't necessarily a jazz band, even though we played jazz. We played like jazz, R&B, funk, and a little bit of hip hop here and there. And I was like, and you had to try out every year, to be able to participate in the group and whatnot. It was all that, the music that was out during that, all of that kind of led up to where I am now, with the desire to just do music or what have you. So I have a lot of my past and my dad's involvement, the music that was out, just that time that I was living in. I have a lot to be thankful for that particular period of where I am.
Okay.
So
first off, shout out to the dads. Because I'm not even gonna lie, if it wasn't for my dad, I wouldn't have this computer. I don't think I would be as pointed toward my interest in gaming, which means I wouldn't have the job that I have now, I would be a very different kid if it wasn't for my old man. The way when you told me that your dad made you read manuals and shit for the equipment you got, my dad used to make me and my brother both read magazines. That's how everybody is. We read business magazines, bro, and just general books, and he would have us write about them.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, dude, like, I don't want to do this. And I remember being in that position, like, he would be like, yeah, no, write a paragraph or write a page on what you just read. And I'm just sitting there like, what do you want me to say, dog? Like, read it. Going back, it took hours, bro. Hours, man. Our grades were not great, which is, some of this was punishment, but when it wasn't punishment, he literally just made us do it because he wanted us to be better. You know? Like your old man. He wanted to invest in you. He wanted you to be better. And you have a freaking ridiculous sound. Like, it's absolutely banana bonkers.
Man, appreciate that.
So there's that. And then also, what was it like to experience the release of these groups? One, see the start of these groups, but then also experience the release of like some of their biggest tracks. Cause like for me, one of the groups that like I didn't know about at the time that my old man told me about some years ago was Diggable Planets. And I'm sitting here like, I can't imagine what hearing Reaching for the first time would have been like, bro. Like, especially living in DMV, you're not super far away from New York. But all the same, like, that's a very New York album, man. But it's also very out of space for the time. Like, what was MJ? Michael Jackson Thriller comes out? Like what?
Yeah. I
Bad?
I was 4 when Bad came out.
Oh my god!
And I still remember when it came out to this day. That's like one of the few memories as a kid that one of the few memories that I still like remember. Like there's this video that my uncle took of my cousin's first birthday party. Yeah, it was his first birthday party. And I remember the last time I looked, he showed the video. Last time I looked at it was many, many years ago. And it was funny looking back at it because I'm like, dang, that's what I was doing? Dancing the Smooth Criminal at the party? Man, I could have sworn I was dancing like Michael Jackson myself. But I actually still remember that party and still remember having so much fun dancing to one of my favorite artists during that out during that time.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so like But yeah, when you talking about Diggable Planets, I think the first time I heard of them was a Cool Like That video. And I just remember like, this is smooth. Okay, I like this. It's like, I thought, okay, I'm liking this whole, jazzy hip hop vibe to it. It's like
not even just Diggable Planets. I'm talking, when I asked that question, that's the range. What was hearing? Because okay, a video game release for me when I was a kid, that was huge.
Right.
When they got releases and shit like that. The game that you've been watching for years. But like this is more serendipitous because like an artist can come on radio that you've never heard.
Yeah.
I mean, and it just shake your world up. What was that era for music really like? Like what were those releases like, man? Like what were some of the ones that you remember like, yo, this changed my shit? Like.
I got a few. My all-time favorite one to talk about. Whenever we have this have a conversation about that. I love always talking about bringing up Pete Rock and C.O. Smooth.
The creator?
Well, not from that EP. Not from that. I first got like officially, visibly, and audibly introduced to them through their second project. More specifically, the track "They Reminisce Over You." Yeah, I always consider that moment when I first heard that song as a kid. That was '92. Yes, man.
Oh my god, I can't imagine.
Bruh. I always considered I was a fan of hip hop, but I always considered that moment as the moment I fell in love with hip hop because of that sound, because of what C.O. Smooth was talking about, because of what the whole reason why that song was created in the first place that I found out later on. The fact that the fact that it was a dedication to one of Heavy D's dancers from Heavy D and the Boys. Because there was like a stage accident. Trouble T. Roy, who was one of the 3 dancers, he had passed away during that time. And that was their peoples, because a lot of the hip hop artists grew up in around around each other in their same neighborhoods, being in Queens or Brooklyn or Bronx or what have you. And yes, excellent duo at Pete Rock, C.O. Smooth. Like Pete Rock's production was just hands down. Oh my God, it's just God tier. And he was like, and because that was his way of kind of like letting out his pain. Yeah, letting out his pain through music. It was just that marriage between, and it's just the way that he spliced up that I forgot the name of the name of the artist where the record came from, but the song is called Today. Just the way that he chopped up Today, the way that it was pitched down, the groove of the drums. It was just something about that. Oh my God. You know what I'm saying? And even with the way that C.O. Smooth said, when they reminisce over you, my God, it was just something about that. I kid you not.
I can feel what you're feeling from here, and I can it all.
Man.
The weight of, keep going.
It was, I kid you not. I used to, whenever I had spare time in between, like I'm done with my homework, I'm just sitting in the room and whatnot, I lie to you not, there used to be times where I used to have the radio on, hoping that They Reminisce Over You would be played. Like I would listen to it just to hear whether or not they would play the song. You know, a lot of dope music out in '92 as well, but I used to always listen to it just for the purpose of just hoping that they would play the song, or watching the jukebox network back then. What was that? That was like MTV, but it was it was a fan request service. So like for a small fee, you could call in and request music videos to be played. That was the Jukebox Network. But then later on it got shrunk and then the name got shrunk down to the Box. So yeah, the Box was that thing. It's like you want to see your favorite joint. If you had the money for it, you call the 1-800 number, request the video.
What? That sounds fucking. I mean.
It was consumer driven.
That's awesome. But because you can get exposed to a lot of new music that way. You know, and I'm sure they had some check. You know, for people who are constantly calling in and trying to play the same song or different, whatever. You got to check that. But the fact that kind of thing existed. So you brought up a few different things so far. I'm just sitting here Black Planet Network, the Jukebox Network, BlackPanic.net. Excuse me, Jukebox Network.
No, it was .com. Yeah, BlackPanic.com.
.com. Excuse me. But. This isn't. Okay.
Yes or no head.
Well, it's not. Okay, sure, but it's just
No, I get it.
There was a sense of. It sounds like there's a really cool sense of community, because that sounds like something that you'd be checking out. Whenever it came on, and then the next day you'd be like, "Yo," to your homies, did you check out the Jukebox Network or the Box?
Yeah.
And they'd be like, "No, I didn't see what I missed. So and so came out, it has this particular video out, or this song out." And it's what?
Yeah. Or I could take it further back, even prior to the Box, on regular public television, not cable. There used to be this program called MVC, or Music Video Connection. It was similar to Video Soul, Donnie Simpson, who also was a radio personality in the DC area for PGC, I believe. Yeah, but Donnie Simpson. He not only was he doing video soul, he was also he was a radio DJ for PGC. Yeah, so he was based in DC for a minute. But yeah, it was like video soul, but for public television on a channel like on the CBS channel, like Channel 9 or something like that. So a lot of the music videos that my dad had like taped, a lot of them came from either MTV, BET, The Box, or from that show, Music Video Connection. Mm-hmm. So a lot of the VHS tapes that he used to have that had all these different videos from back then came from there. So yeah, so but yeah, that's how I truly felt. I felt like I truly fell in love with hip hop when They Reminisce Over You came out, and my dad finally got me the tape. When he got me that cassette tape with that single. And and I love how, because I love this era, because that was when they had B-sides, where they had like the singles that were either not on the album, or they were album cuts that was just like B-side cuts to kind of like to introduce to other people, even if they weren't like follow-up singles. That's how a lot of people did it that way.
Wait, okay, real quick. They would put like the artist that may have been featured on the album on the B-side, or what do you mean?
Meaning like a record by that artist.
Okay.
Yeah, a record by that artist, be it like a teaser record. It could be like a teaser record for what's going to be on the album, on the LP or the EP, or it could be just a record that they wanted to put out, like a remix, or just a record that's not on the upcoming album. Like one example of that was for those fans of Tupac who remembers Hit 'Em Up when he was dissing Biggie. Mm-hmm. That was not on the All Eyes on Me album.
Oh.
That was a B-side on, I think it was the Two of America's Most Wanted record that he had out with Snoop. That was on the album.
What?
So when he released Two of America's Most Wanted as a single, on the B-side was the Biggie diss record.
Damn.
Yeah. So that's an example of a B-side that's not on the record.
That's tight. I did not know that. That is so cool.
And for the They Reminisce Over You single, I don't remember if it was on Mecca and the Soul Brother, but their B-side was the Creator, the remix to the Creator.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's how I got introduced to Creator, because I hadn't heard the first Creator until like years later. Yeah. But I was familiar with the remix because the remix was the B-side for They Reminisce Over You.
So cool!
I played that tape to death.
I believe it.
I played that tape to death. It was crazy, man. Another moment was my dad already knew of Tribe Called Quest from their Bonita Applebaum single, but I hadn't heard that until later on. I got like consciously introduced to them through tracks from their Midnight Marauders album.
It's like a world tour.
War Tour came out.
Relaxation, yeah.
First
time, nigga.
It was just something about that sound. Mm-hmm. It was just the way that a war tour is, like the beauty behind the sample. And back then, I didn't know any better because I thought all this stuff was being played out. Yeah. I didn't know that these were records that were being sampled. Jazz records that were being sampled and stuff. I didn't even know there was such a thing. But then, later on, I learned about what sampling was. And initially, I was kind of like about it because of the legality aspect of it, or what have you. But then I kind of softened up when I the first time I experimented with sampling. This is when I started getting into making music on the computer and stuff. And I played around with a Jackson 5 sample, and it was from their third album, the Can I See You in the Morning. That's like my favorite record off of the third album. So yeah, so I was playing around with that, and I was like, okay, I feel like I could do this. I wasn't sampling as heavy as I am now. I still do original stuff, so it's kind of like half and half. You know, I have my sampling side, I have my original side, or whatnot. 100%. But it was still like 90-10. Because when I started making beats, I was playing everything out. Making demos with a karaoke machine with the back in like 97, 98, 99, that area.
What? I'm gonna ask you that question a lot. Like I said, I was born in 95. Mm-hmm. No, you aren't old, but you are my OG. So, and I have to acknowledge that. So there's a lot of stuff that like I'm not even gonna lie to you. Normally, yes, I do send people their questions the day of. However, I was sitting up here last night and the day before, I was like, should I send NELAC questions or should I send a story time? Because I can literally do it. Like I'm like, I don't know how old you are. Mm-hmm. However, I do know you've been doing this for a minute. Right. And you have a wealth of knowledge, and I'm listening to it right now. Yeah. And like experiencing the energy of freaking the release of When They Reminisce Over You. Right. And even what you're saying, keep going about Tribe. Yeah. But like, I'm gonna ask that question a lot. Oh yeah, but it's all good. Nah, I appreciate it. I appreciate the energy behind it, man. Definitely. But it was like during that time, it was just something about the way those tracks sounded, and like around the time when I started playing around with the idea of wanting to do music, those were my influences. Yeah, you had the De La Souls, you had the Tribe Called Quest, you know, that whole Native Tongues crew that came out, you know what I'm saying? Every time. You know what I'm saying? It was just something about that sound, the Diggable Planet sound. But even with a lot of the gangster rap, that hardcore boom bap sound was also grabbing my attention too, because that was also like, because gotta shout out Onyx and Naughty by Nature, because that was when Hip Hop Array came out. Yeah. First time I heard Hip Hop Array, when I saw the video, it was like, okay, it's like that was, oh my, another awesome moment right there. Another awesome moment with that whole Hip Hop Array. Does the house start dancing when that song was playing? Because it's infectious. Yes. I remember, I never forget that I don't remember if it was 4th grade, 5th grade, 6th grade. It was whenever Hip Hop Array was popular during that time. There was a school party for students who received honor roll, and they had this program called Abbott. And Abbott was an acronym for A's and B's because I tried. And I love it. For everybody that were, you know, labeled as Abbotts because they got A's and B's for the A. Yeah. So we had like a dance party or whatnot. We was, you know, everybody having fun, everybody dancing and stuff. I think there was like one point in time the DJ played Electric Slide, and we all were doing the Electric Slide. Kids, you know the OG version of Electric Slide, the original version that was being played. I've never heard the original version of Electric Slide. Yeah. And the funny thing about that is I found out later on. Yeah. And people would not know that the Electric Slide is technically a reggae song. What? Yeah, because the original singer was from Jamaica. What? Yes. What? I'm looking that shit up tonight.
If you listen to the oh Lord, we making that correlation. Abbott the RZA. Oh, we can't. Oh, we can't forget about Wu-Tang Clan as well. They definitely played a huge role as well too.
I wouldn't be surprised.
yeah, cause but having fun, we dancing, kicking, but then when they play Hip Hop Array. I still remember this to this day. We all went crazy, jumping up in the air, hip hop parade, like kids when this joint came out. Oh my god, yeah, this.
Were the adults about it? Were they also in the mix too?
I'm pretty sure they were. I wasn't paying attention. I was just
at that point.
I was just paying attention to the fact that we all got hyped to that song, and is wild, man. But yeah.
You got to experience so many cool releases. Like, you got to experience the stuff that we look back on now and revere. Yeah. Everything comes from this pool that you just that you lived in and lived through.
It's just the fact that and it's funny, the fact that with you asking me these questions, it's making me realize how appreciative I am about. It makes me feel really appreciative of the fact that I lived through these different eras of hip hop.
Yeah.
Because again, I was born in '83.
Yeah.
'83 was that catalyst year, where hip hop was at its prime, and that '83 was was during that golden era when people really when hip hop really started making a name for itself, and people realized that you can actually make money with hip hop. People are actually starting to believe in hip hop, because this is what I think last year was 50 years of hip hop. I think. Yeah. Last year, 50 years of hip hop. During that period of time, there's so many. The fact that people thought that hip hop was going to die out, that hip hop was a fad. Now hip hop is one of the biggest selling genres of music,
and it happened I would say that it happened fast.
Right.
Like, it's even in that from the 70s into the 80s, like you said, all these artists being in the same area had to have helped this year. That's what I was literally about to say.
Okay, this year will be 50 years.
I was thinking that just now. I'm okay.
Yeah, because that was 10. Yeah, because that was 10 years of it building.
Yeah, the 73 to 83.
Yeah.
You had all these people who had grown up together making those balling and bonkers stuff from the 80s onward. The music was so pure.
Yeah.
And deeply, deeply raw. How do you what was the amount that you listened to gangster rap in its early days to if you could kind of give me a ratio between what you listen to gangster rap and you listen to what I guess would be considered now more conscious rap?
Yeah. So there was so many different there was so many different types of names for it, but a lot of people today would probably categorize it as conscious rap. When it comes to gangster rap, conscious rap, or just all the other hip hop, it was here.
Okay.
About that level. Because even though I was a fan of the beat, I was a fan of the groove and stuff like that. Even back then I wasn't a fan of the whole glorifying violence and stuff.
Yeah.
But thanks to my dad, I wasn't really exposed a lot to that. I mean, he would not. I mean, he wouldn't even let. When I started getting to the point where I got to the point where I was old enough to buy my own records and stuff like that. As far at this time the CDs and tapes and stuff like that. I had to pass that test. Couldn't bring anything with no parental advisory censor and stuff like that.
Looking for that immature rating on it.
Right, you know what I'm saying? He definitely did not. He definitely didn't let me get away with that. Especially also, that was high school, so that was also during that time where more gospel music was starting to get into the mix of all the music that I was listening to as well.
Yeah.
During that period of time, so you got hip hop, got R&B, jazz, gospel. I'm listening to all these different styles of music and stuff. And then on top of that, a lot of hip hop, a lot of holy hip hop was also starting to kind of bubble during that period of time. So I was listening to a lot of that as well.
So, what were because I grew up listening to a decent amount of gospel, and so I couldn't tell you the name of a choir.
Yeah.
Other than Kirk Franklin and his crew.
Right.
That was a big part of that era, the 2000s era of gospel rap to me. There were other groups that were out.
Yeah.
I want to know what were some of the what was some of the gospel you were listening to? Because I don't think the Now series was out by then. That's a 2000s, like late 90s, 2000s thing. But now that's what I call.
Oh yeah, now that's walk on music, all that stuff. Yeah, I know. I know 90s. I think like that late 90s, early 2000s. That was when the Wild Gospel, the Wild Gospel series of CDs was out too during that time too.
Okay.
Kirk Franklin, of course. Obviously, because for me, he made listening to music not only bearable but also fun.
Yeah,
fun to listen to, and actually, you want to actually make you feel like you want to,
praise,
praise, dance, and
yeah,
and also tap into the spirit.
Exactly.
And when I think back on it, it was definitely really. That was when people were offended by his
approach.
When folks were offended by his approach to gospel music and things of that nature.
Interesting.
Looking back at it, their reasons were really corny. Because it was radical. They felt like it was even all the way down to the way the music was orchestrated. People had a problem with it.
Really?
Which I find very interesting, because the gospel that was out during the 80s and the 70s, what was considered the elder generation then had a problem with that too. It seemed like every generation, the prior generation has a problem with it, and then it gets popular, and then another version or offshoot of it, and then all of a sudden that generation has a problem with that. It's like, come on now. especially oh my God, he definitely, I know he especially got a lot of flack in '97 when he dropped that God's Property when Stomp was out.
Oh my God! My head.
I was like, oh, you really got a problem now. You add the hip hop beat to it. You using drum machines now. You know what I'm saying? Oh my God! But he made gospel music cool, and I always appreciated him for that. You know what I'm saying? It made it feel. I felt like it made it more presentable to the people that the elders are trying to reach out to in the first place, especially the youth. Yeah. Especially the youth back in. Again, me being a youth going to church, like. Like that helps me out, because I like this music right there. I definitely don't. Even though I do like my share of praise and worship, there are some praise and worship songs that I just I do not see myself listening to. Yeah. I hear myself listen to every single day. No, I can't do that. No. But you had your Kirk Franklins. I was a fan. I was a fan of Hezekiah Walker. Fan of Fred Hammond. Big fan of Fred Hammond's music. John P. Key, he was another one. So like you had Kirk Franklin, John P. Key. They kind of pushed the envelope when it came to music as well. So right,
that song was huge.
Yeah. And there was so many others. And then there were also some other groups that I listened to that may not have been widely known. Oh, can't forget Yolanda Adams. I was a fan of Yolanda Adams too.
We'll go back and listen to her, because I think my mom was, and she had a song that I loved. That name sounds very, very familiar. There was, and I just remember every time I was a kid, it would come on. I think because my mom used to listen gospel radio. You talk about listening to gospel. Everything you're saying right now, I'm sure I heard it. And then my mom also was the one who's gonna get. She got gospel albums for pop gospel groups.
Oh yeah.
And my stepdad was a gospel rapper. And
okay.
We had to we listened to it growing up. He introduced us to some cool hip hop stuff, but all the same, he also did that.
Yeah, that's what's up.
It's amazing to me, because I do think for a lot of youth in my age group, like we grew up with our parents listening to that stuff, and it had way more of an impact on how we listen to music now than we probably give it credit for.
Right. Yeah.
Honestly, because like even the way that some rappers try to sing now, it kind of has that choral tone, even though they can't sing. Like they don't have it. It's like they're trying to like recreate that in some ways.
Right.
They're really trying to tap into the spirit with the shit that they're making. And I love it. It's like we gotta give it props. You have to pay homage to those that did it before you.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, most definitely.
You really do. That's what I love. That's what I really love hearing your respect. I know I'm not pushing things in our conversation because I really like listening to like the story, man. Like, dude. I will. Okay, so then for you, it probably wasn't just hip hop. I'm sure you grew up. I mean, I don't know how you grew up, so I'm gonna ask you that question. Yeah. What cultures have an influence on your music?
Yeah, obviously hip hop. You know, we talk about that. Yeah, but definitely, especially hip hop, because that was the foundation. Yeah. It's like I grew up listening to a whole lot of music, but it was because of the fact that I grew up during those particular eras of hip hop when hip hop was at its prime, when hip hop was still gradually, slowly but surely being recognized as a force to be reckoned with in the music industry. I always pay homage to hip hop first because that's always been the foundation and will continue to be the foundation of everything I do as a musician, as a producer, whatever. But I definitely credit a lot of the R&B that was out during that time that I was listening to. A lot of the popular. That's really what pop music is. But a lot of the pop music that was out during that period of time, a lot of the jazz that was in the house, a lot of the soundtrack music that was in the house too. Like I said, they also had movie soundtrack albums as well. Okay. Like shoot, I don't know if it was my dad's record or one of my uncle's record, but they even had the daggone E.T. storybook that was read by Michael Jackson. What? They even had that on vinyl. I didn't know Michael Jackson read E.T. the storybook. Yes, there was a E.T. audio vinyl record story, and Michael Jackson was the narrator.
What was listening to that like? How was Michael Jackson as a narrator?
Magical as usual with his high pitched voice.
so smooth and so relaxed. Yeah. And so kind.
Yeah.
So warm.
And if I remember correctly, that was around the time that he was working on Thriller. If I remember correctly.
Wow.
Yeah. So I don't remember exactly what year E.T. came out, but yeah, it was around that time. But yeah, it's just like all these different styles. So especially, you got the hip hop, you got the R&B, you got the soul with that period between like mid 90s leading into the 2000s, what people categorize as neo soul, with your Erykah Badu's, your Lauryn Hill, D'Angelo, yeah. And then even the cats from Detroit, when we got introduced to Slum Village and Dwelle and all that stuff. Yeah, so it's like a lot. It's like a lot of that play like a huge factor in, the sound that I always try to capture, be it original or sample based. Like that's. Especially as of late, I've been more so on my swing. I've been on my swing boom bap tip as of late too. So, excuse me. Even though I still like making other styles of music, that's always been as of late. That's been like mine. Hit them with that lo-fi, hit them with that boom bap, hit them with them beat battle-ish type.
It's got a different energy to it though than like traditional like lo-fi boom bap when people identify with it. Like yours has a bump and bounce to it, like that most lo-fi that people think lo-fi, they don't think that. So like where does that come from? Where does that energy come from? That's gotta come from the soul. So it can be very energetic. Mm-hmm. There's got a funk to it as well.
Yeah.
So it's a funk ass.
I feel like and I feel like a lot of that, I would have to credit my Jay Dilla fandom. That music that was out during all the work that he had done. Mm-hmm. My fandom of Flying Lotus, because he has that specific bounce, or as the homie Stolen Drums, one of the co-founders of Controller as well as founder of Sidechain Society, as he always said that everybody got their own specific bounce, or that specific pocket. Like he calls that, for me, he always calls that I have that certain bounce or pocket to my beat, so like or the beat ninja pocket per se, you know. So, but a lot of that I credit that to me being growing up on that swing, that groove of the hip hop that was out during that time, especially all the records that I grew up on that I found out were produced by Dilla. You know? And to this day, I will always be upset about the fact that I put 2 and 2 together, found out who Jay Dilla was after he died.
What do you mean?
When it comes to all the Tribe stuff that he did, the Erykah Badu stuff that he did, the work that he did with D'Angelo, all the records that he produced, his involvement with Slum Village because he was a member of Slum Village, you know. The work that he was one of the original members of Slum Village. He was the main one making the beats. Yeah. When
it makes so much sense. Okay.
When the Trent that was when the Fantastic Volume 1 and Volume 2 album was out. He was part of that. When Trinity came out, when Elzai was rapping in his stead. He did a few beats for them, but at that time he wasn't a full-fledged active member because he was focused. I think at that time he was focused on trying to do his solo stuff as well as you know shopping beats and doing his thing as a producer and whatnot. Yeah. But he was still like producing off on for Slum Village. But he was one of the original members of Slum Village. So just all you get is just look up Slum Village, look up Fantastic Volume 1 and Volume 2. You'll hear
I will now because Slum Village has Selfish is one of my favorite songs of all time. Mm-hmm. Just I would say top 25 songs that I deeply love. Mm-hmm. Everything about that track is amazing, and Slum Village made that track, and that. So I will definitely go back, and I need to actually go back and listen to them again.
Yeah.
In my current age.
Yes. Yeah. I hadn't listened to during that period of time. I hadn't when Selfish was out. I hadn't listened to the Detroit Deli album in full. But again, finding out after he passed away that there was I don't remember if he did any production for that album, but I know that on like the very last track, Reunion, that Dilla was spitting on it. So Dilla was spitting on that. That part, he didn't produce that one. Black Milk produced that joint. Black Milk is dope as hell, by the way. Also based out of Detroit. That off in that pocket, from that Detroit pocket. So
I was too young. I'm from Michigan. I grew up in Detroit. So like between like Detroit and Chicago is where we rolled. Yeah. But like I was my mom, she didn't let us listen to hip hop that much. And then like what we did, we were listening to like what was popular on the radio because that's what our friends and family was. Right, exactly. So I did not know where's Black Milk? What has he touched? Mm-hmm. What has he touched that I'm not aware of?
a lot of independent stuff. Like he's done production for Slum Village before, and he also has a lot of solo stuff out too.
Okay.
Yeah, no, he's phenomenal. He's a phenomenal producer and artist, and he can spit too. Yeah, but to my knowledge, there's been like a lot of independent artist stuff.
Gotcha.
Yeah, especially cats from Detroit, Fat Cat and all them stuff. So yeah, right. But yeah, that's where a lot of the influence comes from. That's like that, because that I like to call the Adult Swim era of beats. That definitely made a huge influence on me, because that was around the time when I learned about Madlib and MF Doom, and I started listening to them heavy and things of that nature, especially that Mad Villainy album. Oh my god. Yes.
The album is phenomenal.
Totally agreed, Mac Panther. He is very underrated.
I'm gonna look him up. This is why I want to hear this, because I have heard so many things where now I'm like, I gotta go back and listen. I really gotta go back and listen. I really gotta connect. I gotta connect.
Right.
It's you, because how can you not want to?
Yeah.
I hear what you make, and I'm sitting here like, if these are his influences, what the hell am I missing out on? What am I missing right now?
Oh my god.
It's fucking popping, bro.
Yeah.
I listen to Flying Lotus.
Yeah.
I listen to a lot of Flying Lotus.
Mm-hmm.
But just like, there are people I've never heard Black Milk.
Yeah, man. Yeah, it's crazy.
I was 8 years old.
Yeah, definitely check them out. And anybody listening to this, even if you're watching this in the playback on the VOD, Black Milk, look them up. You know what I'm saying? Oh yeah, Wajid is another one. That's like, yeah, Wajid, Black Milk, Oh No, they all from that Detroit, all from that from that Detroit hip hop sound. All of them. And it was a lot of that. The J Dilla influence, because of all of these records that I grew up listening to that we had mentioned that he produced that I didn't know. Again, the Adult Swim era of beats with the Madlib beats that they used in the Adult Swim bumps, the Dilla beats that they used from the Donuts album, the Flying Lotus beats that they used, and that's how I became a fan of Flying Lotus, because of that massage situation beat that they used in one of the bumps. That's how I learned about Flying Lotus through the Adult Swim bumps and just learning them. And can't forget about the homie DiBiase. Like, and as time went on, I was still kind of sort of figuring out my sound, because by this time I became a believer in being able to make dope music on a computer as opposed to hardware, because I was for some years I was against using computer until I got into school in my third year of Morehouse, in one of my composition classes, because I went to Morehouse for music composition. So I learned a lot about theories. I know how to literally write the music, not just create it, but I know how to write sheet music out as well. Oh wow! So if I wanted to write a piece for a band, I could if I wanted to. I just hadn't done it in a while, and I need to get back. I need to get back into my scoring and practicing that and stuff like that. So 100%. Yeah. So it was during that time we had like an electronic music lesson in my composition class. To where in the classroom we had like a couple computers set up with some keyboards, and during that time my professor introduced us to certain programs that could be used to record music. He showed us about Pro Tools, and I've known about Pro Tools before, because I was around the time when that started slowly but surely becoming the industry standard at the time during the early 2000s. So he showed us how Pro Tools works. I think it also had Cakewalk Sonar on there as well, and then also this really slimmed down version of Reason called Reason Adapted. Before that was when the company was still called Propellerhead. Because like a few years ago they changed their name to Reason Studios, because Reason is their primary primary software that they sell, and that's my primary weapon of choice that I use, Reason. Even though I do also I like experimenting, making music in other softwares, like Ableton. I like Ableton a lot.
What I hear a lot of around here is Ableton and
Really?
FL. You're the first person I've ever heard bring up Reason.
Really?
I forgot about Reason Studio. I really did.
Yeah, Doc Illingsworth. I've heard of Doc Illingsworth. I don't recall if I'm familiar with any of his music, but I am familiar with that name, Doc Illingsworth. Yeah.
You look him up too.
Yeah.
Thank you, McPanther.
Yeah, but yeah, so I saw that. I saw how the way the operating system was set up. It was. Some people today will look at Reason and they will be like, "Oh hell no, this looks confusing as all get out." Me being the hardware guy, I'm like, "Oh, this reminds me of using hardware."
Interesting.
Because they have this function where when you flip it around, you can literally plug up virtual cables to different instruments and racks and stuff like that. And it was something about that kind of grabbed my attention. Like, oh, this reminds me of using hardware.
Can you still do that in it now?
Of course, no. That's their signature thing.
Gotcha.
Hitting tab and connecting because that's usually what I do when I'm tracking out the drums for one of the drum machines that I use in one of the drum machine racks that I use in Reason. That's how I split up the drum. That's how I split up the drum tracks when in order to to be able to adjust the levels for each of the drum sounds and the pads and stuff. Yeah. Yeah. So that function alone, I was like, I think I might. I messed around with that. I messed around with that on my own time. I was like, oh yeah, I'm sold. And I full-fledged became a fan. But I also gotta definitely give a shout out to the FL Studio users. Even though FL Studio is not my primary thing, it was me experiencing with Fruity Loops when it was called primarily Fruity Loops. Experimenting with that on my roommate's computer my freshman year of college over at Morehouse. He showed me it. It's like, that sounds good. You made that on a computer? What's it? It's called Fruity Loops? Okay. Alright, bet. Alright, that's what's up. He let me mess around with it and make something. I was like experiment with a Dirty South, kind of like a Dirty South style beat, because this was 2001. So this is when Pastor Troy was popping and all of them, and Ludacris and all these different a lot of the Atlanta acts down here that was really popping on the underground scene before they got big. And so made it. Actually turned out pretty good. I was like, this is pretty dope. Okay, I could see using the computer being something. Still the hardware guy using that to finish up the tracks on my first album at the time. Yeah. But then when I got introduced to Reason, I was like, okay, I'm sold. It was just something about it. It was very user friendly to me, and to this day, it's still very user friendly. And then on top of that, it's just something about the overall sound of the instruments and the sound that comes, and just the overall sound that comes out of that particular DAW. Like every DAW has their unique sound, just like how every drum machine has that. It's just something about the unique sound that comes out of a machine or MPC and things of that nature. I recently got into trying to build back up on my hardware too, and play around with experiment with different drum machines and stuff. Because I use SP4 for a lot of my live shows, but I also have used it to make beats as well too. So I just love experimenting with it, and that's something I've always wanted to do for a long time. So I'm kind of like fulfilling childhood dreams right now with the machines that I have right now, like with the SP, the the MPC 1000. I bought that back in like 2020, and then just recently I just copped the OG MPC 2000, like last month. And now I'm going to be playing around with. There's some things that need to get fixed up on it, but I'm going to be experimenting with it and just just checking to see what works, what doesn't work, and just try and also see how I do with being able to pull sample, recording samples and chopping up sample records and stuff with the pads that work. But
let me know when you put something out with that.
Oh yeah. No, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, it's like it's all that era, and then as time went on, life is lifing. I'm going through stuff. I'm not able to produce as much as I want to because of the situations that I was dealing with at the time. Fast forward, 2017, the beat culture scene is introduced to me by way of Controllerize.
How do you get to Atlanta in the first place?
I moved through school.
Okay.
Because I went down.
Came down here from Morehouse.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yes. I came down, graduated in 05, went back home for 2 years. Was trying to dip my foot into tried teaching for a year. Did not like it. Did not like the experience. And when I look back on it, mentally I was not ready for it. A lot of that was because my dad was egging me on to do teaching because it's music. You have a degree in music, blah 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 blah. But it's very different. It was very different. And when I look, it's like. But I did that. Went through my stuff, but also at the same time, there was also 06. That was when I got introduced to Dilla. That's where a lot of the influence from that came from there. So it kind of started with that, but it just built over time. And I have been, experimenting. Then I get introduced to Flying Lotus, blah blah blah. 07 is when I moved back down here, and initially, my primary thing. I have this thing where I have moments where I primarily focus on the artist aspect of me, get my name out there as a lyrical preacher, and then I'll turn around and have these moments where I'm focusing on the producer aspect of me as NELAC. At the time, NELAC, the Pharaoh of music, blah blah blah, that kind of thing.
It's a cool name.
Yeah.
Don't rush over it.
Yeah.
Cool name.
Yeah, it was, yeah. But that was during that period of time when I was playing around trying to figure out what stuck with me.
Yeah.
That was a lot of that Pharaoh of music thing came from the fact that everybody was saying there was a king of something. There was the princess of stuff, the prince of crunk, the king of crunk, the king of the south, and all this king, this big. That's like, man, screw that. I'm gonna call myself Pharaoh. Like, because I was big on. I've always been big on African history, Egyptian history, and stuff like that. Ancient Kemet and all that stuff. And that I have my dad to thank a lot for that too. With how because of the age that I was when he, it was through him and through programs that I looked at on TV, through Howard University television, as a matter of fact, where I learned at a young age in elementary school about Africa being the cradle of civilization, and how everything came from them. Which is common knowledge now. Yeah, it's common knowledge now, but back then it was like it was eye opening for me. I had a children's book called My First Trip to Africa. That was written by the daughter of Anthony Ty Browder, who's really big on teaching people about the African American experience and things of that nature. V Money, hey, what's good? This is one of my homegirls from the Twitch community.
Shout out, and make sure you give Nelacthebeatninja a follow on Twitch.
Yes, make sure y'all do that. And yeah, good to see you, V Money. Good to see you. But yeah, so But fast forward. That's where that whole calling myself the pharaoh of music came from. When I was also like heavily involved in the beat battle scene as well. That was another way I was trying to like get my name
What were
out.
beat battles like then?
And crack the freaking bull. Thank you, Amias. I appreciate that. Yeah, but it was incredible, man. It's like that a big shout out to Tariq Scott, aka Big Ty, and Fort Knox from they held a lot of the early beat battles in Atlanta during that period of time. It was very competitive. It was very high energy. And you say you could not step on that stage at the old Apache that used to be on Third and Spring Street at Apache Cafe. You could not step on that stage and have some boo boo. You had to come. You had to come hard.
Okay.
And a lot of that you could also hear that in my sound when it comes to my approach to beats because of my beat battle experience as well. A lot.
You came geared.
Yeah. So I learned a lot. So I learned a lot.
Awesome.
Yeah. A lot of my experience came from the beat battle scene, learning how beat battle beats are produced or orchestrated, learning from there the importance of sounds, especially drum sounds, sound selection. Very, very important when it comes to music production, period, regardless of whether you're producing music as a beat battler or producing music for an artist or producing music just to be listened to when you're putting out beat tapes and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so that's a lot of this, a lot of this came from there. Apache Cafe on Tuesday nights. I heard about, oh man, those days were amazing. Tuesday, oh my God. Sometimes. But there was also this event called True School Tuesdays that I used to always attend. That my homie, a good friend of mine, who's second generation Dungeon family, Jaws of Life, he hosted the True School Tuesdays back in like 08, 09, and they had a live band and stuff. They had the hip hop karaoke going on and stuff like that. I used to perform there all the time. And that's I kind of built up. I kind of built low key built a following in that ATL underground hip hop scene that was alive and kicking during that period of time. Still friends to this day with a lot of the folks, a lot of the folks that was active during that time too, and and are still doing music like Colin Gibson, Coco Jones, and Yamin Somali. Mike Sick was also from that era as well too.
That's young Mike Sick.
Matter of fact, that's how I met him, because he came to Atlanta building. He was doing his videography stuff. He came to a lot of the Apache Cafe events. And then he started doing his own thing.
I went to one of his bar exam.
Yes.
I've only ever been to one, but it was dope.
Bar exam was amazing. I performed at a couple of bar exams before.
Really?
Yeah. Shout out to Mike Sick.
I saw Mike Sick back in October. He came to one of my buddies' charity boxing matches.
Yeah.
It was tight. It was always good to run a Mike Sick.
Yeah, man, he's a big, and I love everything. I really love and very proud of everything that he's been accomplishing up there. I need to follow back up with him to see how he's doing, the way he's working on and stuff, because I know he's still doing his the freestyle joints that he does online along with Z Rich. That's another one, Z Rich and Jay Nolan and everybody and stuff like that. It's that's again, and matter of fact, that's another era that kind of like influenced that the beat battles, the underground hip hop scene from that period of time.
Yeah.
And all of this leading into me being introduced to the beat culture aspect of everything.
Okay.
When Mike Six starts promoting Controllerize.
Okay.
And I remember hearing about Controllerize before in the beginning of 2017. And by this time, I'm actively working as a teacher because I decided to get back into teaching on my own terms in 2014, and went through my ups and downs, learning some things, going through some things, but still trying to move forward. Still moving forward, still doing my thing, but also still, doing beat battles, working on music and stuff.
Teacher by day.
Yeah, teacher.
Beat battler, producer by night, like underground legend.
Right. And I think, and I want to say it was around this period of time when I had an interest in wanting to rebrand myself, and then that's where, when I thought about how my approach is. And I remember early promo that I did for myself, on some DIY type stuff, when I took pictures, like older pictures of myself when I was trying to, figure out how to promote myself as a artist and how to differentiate myself as an artist and a producer as well. Just trying to figure out exactly how I wanted to go about it. And there were a couple of pictures that I took of myself. One in particular, I don't know if it's still up here. I think I changed it. But there was an older picture that I took. I had this fatigue, this army fatigue ski mask that I always wore. Wintertime. That's funny enough, I still have. When I was trying to come up with these two different personas, they had lyrical preacher. You know who I like. You know who I am. With my signature bamboo hat. I nicknamed it the Raiden hat because it's literally the hat that Raiden wear in Mortal Kombat. So you're getting a little bit of the anime influence. You're getting a little bit of the video game influence with how I present myself. So it actually ended up becoming a staple, where it's like, to the point where if I run into anybody that know me from that era, it would be a little bit weird because they always remember seeing me with a Raiden hat.
That's awesome. That is so cool.
Even when I, at some point in time, I am going to start performing again as a lyrical preacher, to just push the old stuff and just to put myself out there, saying, yeah, I'm still here, still doing my thing, still got these singles. Go ahead and continue to run them up. I'm still, it's like, even when I do decide to do that, I know there's something coming up on the second Wednesday at Apache. Okay. I'm gonna have the Raiden hat on again. It's like I'm still here. I'm back.
What's coming up? Wait, what?
There's this Apollo style open mic that got started up by this brother named Newface.
Okay.
He's Nuface. That's his the name that he goes by, and also that's his social media. Okay. But he is a walking Atlanta hip hop curator. Okay. That's the best way to describe him when it comes to magazines, to CDs, to cassette tapes, to pieces of clothing and stuff like that. He is a walking, talking, living, breathing museum. Yeah. When it comes to Atlanta hip hop specifically, or just hip hop in general too, but especially Atlanta hip hop. Okay. Yeah, you know what I'm saying. And Patrick Cafe's dope. I met Papa Duke there and Shay. Okay. Nice. That's what's up. Papa Duke. I ain't heard that name in a long time. Goodness gracious. But yeah. So when I took these pictures back in 2007, at the time I was living in Douglasville. I did the pictures with the hat, and then then as NELAC, I did these pictures with this big ass coat that I had. I put the hood on and put the mask on because I was thinking about how I, how I wanted to present myself
You were being the character.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Through the music.
Yeah.
So when I fast forward to 2016, 2017, I'm looking back at these old pictures. I'm like, I think I want to continue, since I'm on this Raiden hat samurai style and I got this ninja style. What if I incorporate that into the name?
Yeah.
And also it's kind of like an inside joke for myself, because whenever I would show up to different band events or events for my my frat brothers or sorority sisters were throwing, they would, like, one of my Spring 03 LBs used to always joke about how like he just showed up out of nowhere like a ninja, because like it's so, I don't know what it is about whenever I show up. Yeah, I just be popping up. I just be popping up on Google right there. And it's like, and I kind of ran with that. That's kind of like low key, like an inside joke for myself too. It's for the whole present myself as a ninja. So like I played around with it, and then when Nelacthebeatninja came about, I was like, okay, that sticks way more better. Let's run with it. So I don't remember exactly what year I started doing that, but I want to say it was somewhere around 2016, 2017. It's like whenever, it was
changed around that time.
Yeah.
Around here, especially. I don't know what it is about the frame. So 2016 to 2018, from what I've heard so far for people, a lot in this music culture around here was like shifting and changing, and new people were coming up, and but this stuff has been going on since the 2000s, since the early 2000s, for real. Yeah. So you take on this persona, you adopt this now persona as Nelacthebeatninja, and you go forward. And how do you run into the Controllerized crew?
Through Mike Sick, because at the time that was when he was part of the crew at the time, and he was helping out with the promotion. He was like the head, the lead, like MC, master of ceremony for the event.
Yeah.
And so I remember the very first flyer that I saw of Controllerized was the I'm trying to remember which one it was, because I love the whole the direction that they went with the artwork, when it came to the use of anime, as well as anything that kind of gave off that kind of like Japanese gaming anime kind of like
cultural
Japanese cinema culture kind of thing. Yeah. And so I saw a flyer that was kind of like a anatomical breakdown of this turtle-ish kind of like Godzilla kind of character on it, and that was like the first Controllerized flyer that I saw. And I was trying to make it to that particular date, but I think like timing wise, it didn't work out for me. Because initially when they were at Slice, in the off of Piedmont, I think, in the Georgia State area, when they were at Slice, they were on Wednesday. They were Wednesdays,
right?
During that period of time, and I'm literally on their IG right now trying to find the old. I'm scrolling through trying to find the old flyer.
I'm trying to remember the name of that kaiju, because I think I know which one you're talking about.
Yeah,
and Garrus, I think, is the name of it.
Okay. Yeah, so like they use that kaiju as part of the advertisement, and that's how I first got introduced to the name Controllerize. But even though I didn't make it to that particular one, I always made it a point to want to make it there.
Right.
And then when I finally made it there, fell in love with the vibe because you know it was a small but dope vibe. Get pizza.
2014, 2015. Okay.
Actually, it was later than that. Yeah, no, it was later than that.
Okay.
More like end of 2016, beginning of 2017. From the very first Controllerize that they did. When Black Cubes, and even though they had the idea, that was more so closer to 2016, 2017, because when Stolen Drums and Black Cubes got together, which is funny enough, I met Black Cubes outside of the whole Controllerize thing.
Really?
At a Fresh and Local event with Jay Nolan and Keith Turner and them.
What?
Because that was the first time I actually saw SP404 because he was playing his beats through a SP404 during that time.
That's tight.
Yeah. And then fast forward, I see the advertisement for Controllerize because I think, if I remember, they said their very first Controllerize was at Music Room. Rest in peace. I say rest in peace because.
What is that? What is that place?
That was an event venue off of Edgewood.
Okay.
Yeah, that was a very, very well known, very popular event venue. And thanks to the pandemic, it had to close down.
Really?
That was one of the many spots that had to shut down because of lack of support during the pandemic.
Damn.
Yeah. Yeah. The rest. Yeah. Music Room was the spot. But yeah.
How'd you meet Cubes before?
It was during that. It was during that event, that Fresh and Local Fest that Jay Nolan.
Okay. That was going on. You said at the music.
No. The very first Controllerize was at the music room. No, this was something completely.
A very separate event. Outside the Controllerize thing.
Yeah. Sound table space one, and now we got urban development and high-rise apartments in the area where Sound Table was. Anyway, as you can see, I have a really big issue with this gentrification going on right now. But anyway, that's how I met. But that's how I first met Black Cubes when I was performing as lyrical preacher at the Fresh and Local Fest, and he was doing a beat set on his SP. That was the first time I ever seen that device. And I was like, okay, that's dope. I was like, how do you do that? Okay. And then, again, like I said, then I see him at Controllerize. I'm seeing all the cats there, Controllerize. See Mike Sick there, Stolen Drums. That's how I first got introduced to Stolen Drums, because of the Controllerize event. You know what I'm saying? And Black Cubes there, meeting all of these cats that was getting there, doing beat sets. And that was back when it was like beat set after beat set after beat set. Everybody got like 15, 20, being able to get 15, 20 minutes in.
Yeah.
DJ Empress Raw would do her thing, in between and stuff like that. And that's how I got to meet a lot of the cats like Takamaru Gaiden and Nonsense and Maurice Daniel, like everybody who's part of the Controllerize crew. Like I met them, I met them in passing, and then really got to know them when I did my first beat set, like many months later when after Slice closed down. All right, so, but yeah, I think I found a lot of the old stuff. I found some of the old stuff, and then after a while they started doing it on Thursdays. Yeah, but I'm trying to see if they got the.
So they're at the music room. They're at Slice. I've never heard of the music room. I'd never heard that this lore of the controllerized era.
Yeah.
I feel like this has become, or I think this has become an archive for this a little bit now.
You know what I'm saying?
So many folks that are tied or have connections to this crew. Everyone does, actually. We all do. And I've heard the whole story here.
Yeah,
a lot of it.
March 2017. No, I mean 2017. Excuse me. Yeah. In March of 2017, that was when they made their first post on their Instagram.
Wow.
Controllerized.
Can I see that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh wow. Oh my gosh. This is very different than what it is now.
Yeah. And then after the first couple events, then they started formulating the logo that we all have come to know and love.
Yeah.
So,
holy crap! I never even seen this original logo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was the flyer from when they were at Music Room that the first couple times. Yeah.
What?
Mm-hmm.
Dude, that is tight.
Yeah. So and so a lot of I can't forget about Alan Thomas. Big shout out to Alan Thomas. He's part of that. He was with them from the very beginning. And that first event was March 22nd, I believe. Yeah, March 22nd. Always been about the anime vibes, always been about the video game vibes and stuff like that, as well as the MCing aspect, because they held a lot of ciphers as well, that Mike Sick led and things of that nature. I first went there as myself and introduced myself via my lyrical preacher, Alter Ego, and had done a couple of ciphers. Done a couple of ciphers on their and they used to always live stream it on YouTube and Facebook too. Okay. So a lot of those sessions are still up on there. Like you could go back in their old sessions and you could see like how it was at Space, as well as at the other spots that they went to. They were at this when I did my first beat set there. That was, when I say first beat set, I mean my first beat set ever.
But you have been in beat battles.
Yeah.
Doesn't that count as a beat set?
No.
Why?
That's not it.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the difference there, like between the two?
All you're doing is just playing beats, and your beats got to be better. Beats got to stand out above the other contestants. That's why they call it beat battle.
Right.
Yeah. And then you go up the ranks, and then you go head to head with one, and whoever has the best beats win.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
No. Beat set is not that. You are DJing, because literally you're basically DJing your music.
Right.
That's what it is.
Okay.
And the funny thing about it is I have known about this for a minute thanks to my fandom of Flying Lotus, because it was through Flying Lotus that I found out, like, wait, there's actually a space there you can actually tour and literally perform as a DJ playing your own music. This is possible, and there are thousands of people here listening. Because I was looking at a YouTube video of one of Flying Lotus' old joints when he was using the MPC as his source of playing beats and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. You know, so I'm like, this is possible. And then I get introduced to After One. He's another amazing, really dope, amazing producer based out of California. Okay. And lo and behold, I found out that I put two and two together because of me being introduced to the whole world of rolling devices with the SP404 and stuff. That some of the older videos of like beat sets that I've seen After One do, he was using the SP555. Oh, wow. He that's like his primary thing that he usually uses when he like triggers his beats and stuff like that. But I never put two and two together until like I started learning more about these rolling instruments and these devices, these samplers. But I'm saying like, okay, and now I'm like, oh snap, we now have it here. Then I start. I'm doing my thing, still trying to make a name, and I kind of experimented with trying to put out a beat tape per se or a beat album. I know I put one out on Bandcamp in 2010. Older beats. I was still trying to figure out my sound and whatnot. But I feel like when it comes to my sound now, me being introduced to the world of Controllerize was the catalyst of that. Because after that first beat battle, I had nothing new at the time. You know, I had a couple. I take that back. I did have a couple remixes I was working on. There were some tracks that I worked on specifically for beat battles and things of that nature, and other stuff that I was experimenting with. So I had a combination of older beats and newer beats, and I was trying to figure out, you know, how I wanted to go about, you know, making my, you know, really leaving my mark in 15 minutes. Because that was back when they had like back to back producers, so that everybody had like 15 minutes. Whoever was able to be added to the lineup during that period of time.
Well, this is like the early version of Auxilla as well. That was what Controllerize was before Auxilla was what it was. Mm-hmm. Now, dog.
Yeah.
Drums, cubes, bro.
Yeah, it's like it was.
Thank you.
It was one of them things where it's like as long as you, to my understanding, it's like as long as you hit them up ahead of time, if they you know, and they could fit you in, and they heard the music and whatnot, you know, they'll put you on the lineup or whatnot. So there were a bunch of different like beat makers. Again, like I said, a lot of people that I got introduced to that are friends of mine. Via Controllerize, because of me seeing them live as a producer before I even entertained the thought of wanting to actually do sets as a producer. And the more I started coming to Controllerize, the more I started having like a desire to, I want to try this out. But I was a little nervous too, because I was a little nervous because, like, you know, I ain't never done it before.
Right.
And you know what I'm saying?
But no, actually no, wait. This is another time where I'm sitting here talking to a musician, a performer at that, and y'all are telling me, because Corey was one who told me this shit like 2 months ago.
Oh, really?
Oh, it felt weird to do a beat set. I'm like, how? How can that be when you're used to performing?
Because it was different, mainly because of the fact that it was outside of my comfort zone. I'd never done it before.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's all it was.
Okay.
Even like it's, and I ain't gonna lie, I was a little worried about how it was going to. I mean, I had a feeling that I would do good. Yeah. I think for me, it was also because around that same time I was playing around with and experimenting with DJing as well, because I was also nervous about wanting to do DJing, but I took what I learned from being around my homie Will, who's a kids DJ. He goes by DJ Willie Wow as a kids DJ, and and has his own brand of kids music that I've done a lot of work with him on, and also assisted him at a lot of the parties that he's done. So watching him was kind of like my school when it comes to song selection and timing and tempo and pitch and key and things of that nature. And then when I finally got one of like my first little rinky-dink little Newmark little DJ thing, that was like my way of practicing and stuff. And then like a couple years later, I got the DJ controller that I have now that I still use, my little Pioneer joint. Mm-hmm. And this is before I even owned an SP404 or anything. And big shout out to Keith Turner. She was the reason why I was able to get that. Why she was the reason for making that connection with drums and cubes, to get the beat set that I did in November of 2017.
What's her name again?
Keith Turner. K-E and then Turner.
Keith Turner.
Yeah, Keith Turner. Yeah, she's a really dope MC. dope lyricist, and she was frequent. She was going to Controller Rise all the time. And I remember I was just kind of like off to the side, just randomly talking to her about like, man, I want to try this one day. I think because it was making me think of Flying Lotus and seeing all these all these producers who also DJ. It's like, okay, this is a thing. This is a thing. Yeah. Even though we've known that this is a thing because we've seen this in EDM. Yeah. With Skrillex and Deadmau5 and all of them, they are DJing.
This is house.
Exactly.
This is we've seen this over the years. We've been
exactly. Yeah, they're DJing stuff that they produce.
The original DJ in New York. This was that. This was the house party. Experience.
Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And so I mentioned it to Key, and she was like, yeah, why don't you just holler at them? I was like, I'll hit them up and see what they do. I was like, and by this time this was when Slice closed, and they were hopping back and forth trying to figure out where their next place was going to be. Okay. And they for a little bit for a few dates. They were at this Korean restaurant and bar off of in East Atlanta Village, right off of Flat Shows. It's like it was, if you know where Treehouse and Forest is and stuff, and then this little parking lot alleyway little area right next to where Treehouse is. And then there are like this other side right before you come around the corner to where
Southern Food Store.
There are doors right there because there are shops and restaurants right there. Yeah. One of those spots was I think it was called Gaja Korean Bar and Restaurant.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
Yeah, so it was there for a little bit, and that's where it was when I did my beat set at the time. The featured anime was Dragon Ball Super during that time, and
so this would have been like 2017.
Yeah, it was 2017. Yeah, 2017, and I had my computer, had my DJ controller, and that set is also still up on their website, on their YouTube page too. Because like I said, they live streamed all of these different sets, and so did my thing. Got introduced by Mike Sick. I played. I just focused on doing the best I could and just choosing beats and just going for it. And folks love what I heard. Folks love what they heard. I played some joints that got their head rocking and stuff. Some of my beat battle joints.
Naturally.
And people loved the set. Got props from drums. Got props from Cubes and everybody else. And I honestly felt like my life changed music-wise that moment Cubes said in my ear, "Welcome to Controller Rise," that same night. And since then I've been rocking with the crew, Controller Rise for life, and just been following up with them through all the different moves and all the different places they've been back and even all the way since then. And me being around them really motivated me to continue to move forward, continuing to perfect my sound and experimenting with sampling and experimenting with just experimenting with different sounds and just everything. And it was through them I finally pushed myself to start putting out beat tapes and stuff, because that one I put out in 2010 that I never really pushed. That was like 8 years. Yeah, like 8 years after that I finally put something out when I did these holiday flips. And that was my little thing. But my like next official like full-fledged beat tape, that wasn't until 2019. But it was me hanging around with cats, hanging around Drums, checking out Drums' live streams that he was doing when he was doing the Beats and Chill.
Oh my god, that shit was dope.
The Beats and Chill streams and
Yeah,
stuff.
man.
The records that he was putting out, and just watching his growth.
Yeah.
During that period of time,
All of that
played a huge influence on me finding my sound and developing my sound to where it is today, to where I finally got out of my comfort zone and started putting out more music, putting out singles, and watching his example of how he was just putting single, and then veggie tacos. Single, veggie tacos too. Just the way that he was doing it. It's like it kind of like motivated me to just put my music out more.
Shout out to Drums, bro.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like for real. And then fast forward 2019. I'm deep into my anime. I'm deep into my anime vibe. Finally went to my first con in 2016, and I've been going. That was MomoCon, and been going to MomoCon ever since. And then I decided to finally move forward on this anime themed album that I had wanted to do since 2012, because I did these three anime remixes that are on the Gashi Box Volume 1 back in 2012 of a flip of the Renano Lagrange, which was a girl mecha anime that was out in 2012. I really loved the music for that, so I flipped that. I think the next one I did after that was the Dolls Polyphony that played during the
I've not seen that.
No, that's not the name of the thing.
Okay.
No, that's the name of the track.
Okay, gotcha. Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here like, is this show called what? No. My anime in my time, but even the one you just mentioned, I was like,
yeah,
I've never seen that either.
Yeah, no, Dolls Polyphony is the name of the track off the Akira soundtrack.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So.
Oh.
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
It was. If you've ever, for those who've seen Akira,
I've seen Akira.
Yeah, so you know it was during the time when Tatsuo was in whatever facility they had him trapped in, doing those experiments on during one of his headache episodes. Yeah, and you start hearing this.
I'm going back and listening to
and he's hallucinating. That was Dolls Polyphony, and that was what I flipped and made a trap beat around that joint and experiment with that. Oh my god!
When I watch that, please eat. I see you try to eat. Go ahead, please eat.
I know we get it.
Like, I'm listening to your stories, but I'm sitting here like I know NELAC want to eat.
Nah, it's all good.
I want you to eat.
It's all good. We get so deep into these conversations and stuff. It's like we having so much fun with it and whatnot.
I'm just sitting. Okay, so like, and that's the other thing too. What? Where does the gaming and anime cultures come into your music? When does that start to get introduced to you in general?
During that period of time being involved with Controller Rise.
Okay.
Yeah.
So this is more recent then. Last 7 to 10 years, like last 7 to 8 years. Mm-hmm. But before that, you didn't have like a...
That wasn't the primary focus. Okay. Yeah, that wasn't the primary focus because my main thing was trying to get on as a music producer when it comes to, I wanted to try and get placements. I wanted to try to trying to sell beats because I was back and forth. I was also during that period back and forth between experimenting with the whole beats, the whole beat selling business scene too, which I'm still kind of like back and forth involved with. I'm not as consistent as I know I can be when it comes to building my BeatStars business or what have you. Prior to that, years ago. Matter of fact, in 2012, I tried to build my beat selling business when I was using, back then it was called My Flash Store.
Flash Store.
Yeah, myflashstore.net, but it's known as Airbit now, which is one of the beat selling marketplaces. Okay. So you got Airbit, BeatStars. Those are like the two major beat selling platforms that's out now that a lot of people use. So so I was doing my flash store, trying to sell beats and things of that nature, and then like it was either 2017 or 2018 is when I switched over to BeatStars, trying to sell beats and things of that nature. So, and like I said, I still pay my little $19.99 little monthly fee because I still believe that one of these days I will be able to grow that business with leases and buying beats and stuff like that. So, if you are an artist and you are, listening to this, you can go to NELACthebeatninja.com. You can go ahead and buy and lease beats there. Anyway, sorry.
Plug yourself. There's no shameless plugs here. There's nothing shameless about it. You pridefully plug very clearly. Plug that.
Right, you know what I'm saying, for sure.
Oh my god.
Yeah, but yeah, that's where a lot of that came from, and me being part of Controllerize reawakened that desire to finish that tape, because I had the Renault Lagrange joint, I had the Akira flip, and then I also did this other little kitty anime called Princess Tutu.
What the fuck were you watching?
That was a challenge.
Okay.
Seriously, like, no, look up Princess Tutu as a kid's.
I believe
you. You know, it's yeah, where like literally it's it's a Japanese anime concept where a duck desires to be a human.
Okay.
And gets the wish.
Oh my god. I love it. It's like those like fairy tale kind
and
of.
that's the reason why I called that particular track the Duck Princess. But now that one was a challenge. One of my okay, Big Panther know about Princess Tutu.
It was about a bunch of shit. Like,
that's what's up.
Being here, I'll be like, like, dog.
That's what's up. That's what's up.
How do you know about this?
Yeah.
He's been in the mix for a minute.
Yeah, so.
You just sent me a picture of him.
Yeah.
He said he drew on the chalkboard. So I drew the logo on the chalkboard. Another early Controllerize. He sent me this picture. He said he drew that logo down there. Which actually is their like part of their logo now. The Japanese at the bottom.
That's exactly
exactly what that shit is. So
9 times out of 10 that's probably where the idea for the logo came from.
McPanther, what the fuck? Do they know? Do you make point to? Oh my god!
I'm pretty sure they would love to see that. I know Drums and Q's would love to see that for sure.
Like for real, bro. Like make sure you are letting them know. Like dog. Like I want get involved because you've been involved. Not like you've been involved. So just get more involved.
Yeah,
so,
but
Princess Tutu was a challenge.
Yeah, by one of my friends I was a member of this Facebook group called the African American Anime Lovers Group, 3AL, and so a lot of us that's all we talk about, different animes, anime themes and stuff, and that's how I got introduced to Renault Lagrange, and because they put the opening credits in there, and I just remember pressing play on there like.
I love the face.
This theme is incredible. And then some weeks or a month later, I was like, I wonder if I could flip this. I pulled it, downloaded it, and messed with it in Reason, and played it for them. They loved it in there, and then I was pulling ideas. Oh, look. Chalkboard. Okay.
Yeah, don't get me hyped. Don't get us hyped like that. Don't get us hyped like that, because we will get hyped.
That's what's up. But yeah, and so that kind of sparked the idea of wanting to do like an anime instrumental album.
Yeah.
And then I messed around with, and then that's when I messed around with the Akira joint, and then my friend Brooke, that was also part of the group. She said, "I bet you can't." I bet you can't do Princess Tutu. I was like, "I bet you can. I bet you I can." I looked up. I looked up what Princess Tutu was. Checked out the first episode. I was like, okay, it's definitely for kids, but okay. But then the ending credits come on.
Okay.
With Yeah, McPanther will know about this. Although my love is small, the song that at the end of the joint. Okay, I think I could flip this. So that was the joint that I flipped from there. So I did a little hip hop thing, and that was also during the time I was trying to attempt to experiment with dubstep. So I had some I got some like dubstep ish kind of breakdowns in the middle of the track. But then after that, I kind of like just my desire to continue keep going kind of fell off. I played around and messed with some other ideas, like the Dragon Ball flip that's on Dagashi Box Volume 1, the first Dragon Ball show. Because I flipped the Dragon Ball. I flipped that joint, but I never finished it, and I was just kind of fell off. Okay. But my involvement with Controllerize motivated me more and more to want to get back into actually finishing it. So over the period of time, 2018, 2019, I actually started working on new joints, going back and finishing the Dragon Ball joint. And then after I finally decided to just put out a beat tape, that was when I put out my Aqua Boy tape in this month, 4 years ago. Yeah. So, yeah, come to think of it, yeah, it's like the 4-year anniversary of that one. Hey. Of Aqua Boy, which was analogy of a kid with a bunch of ideas. That's dope. Yeah, so that's where the idea came from there. It's like if anybody who looks up my music on Spotify, it'll be the one with me as a kid at 5 years old. Wow. as an album cover. That's Aqua Boy. That's the one that has the Total Praise flip on there. Okay. That's why I first put the Total Praise flip on that one when I first experimented with Serato Studio when it first came out. The beta came out. That was my very first beat on there. Damn. On the Serato Studio, the Amen beat.
Damn. So you've been watching kind of... Okay, so I feel like from what I'm hearing from this Controllerized tale, from your side, there is this 2014, 2015 into... this era, and then there's this one, group generation one, you're like this Gen 2 2016 17 like era, and now you've started to watch this Gen 3, this next generation, where I could kind of say like that's when I started learning about Controllerized at the end of 2018. So I'm also kind of watching as a Gen 3-ish kind of era Controllerized youth. What's it been like to see these new producers and new artists? Because not only that, for those who don't know, NELACthebeatninja has ninja-like steps on the dance floor. I've seen you dancing on more than one occasion. Oh, good. And every time I see it, I'm like, dog, NELAC can fucking dance. Like, cold blood. I was telling you that earlier. Like, oh my god. Yo, you may not have known, but NELAC can fucking pop and lock. You got the sauce.
Yeah. Man, and there are people who dance 10 times better than me. Shout out to all the Controllerized dancers and all that, especially my homie Hermes. Man, shout out to Hermes. Especially shout out to Hermes. Hermes the God, because when he was doing the audition, he was doing the Red Bull auditions. I saw a video that he was tagged in during one of the battles that he was doing, right? On the story, right, like last week. He told me that one of the last times that he was at one of the LAG ATL events. Big shout out to Trey. When he was at one of the LAG events as a judge, he told me to the side that he was sessioning to one of the joints from the Dagashi Box Volume 2.
It'd be worth it.
No, I don't know.
It'd be worth it to see. You can dance.
Oh God.
I've seen you dance before.
Lord Jesus. But what slice of pizza?
I would have to move this whole room around.
Oh my God.
We're talking about battling now.
But no, he told me that he was battling to the joint, the the Ultra Instinct flip that's on Volume 2.
Okay.
But when I saw the video that he was tagged in on his stories, he shared the story, and just looking at it and just being like,
that's love right there.
because in the video you can hear people going like, you know, when they react to certain moves that he do. Because again, if y'all ain't seen Hermes dance in real time, please go to his IG. He is a freaking, that's all I'm gonna say. He's a monster. But yeah, but just seeing him session to the Ultra Instinct flip, I was like, oh my God, like he wasn't playing. And what he was doing was amazing to the different changes that I put in the joint too. Like that's crazy, man. But nah, I consider myself. I feel like I dance well enough. But that's one of the reasons why I appreciate being around them, especially whenever they came to the Controllerized events and dancing and stuff. Especially being around Hermes and all the other cats that I usually come through. You know, because I'm watching them. And watching them, that helps me to kind of break out of my shell, because I feel like I dance well enough by myself.
Okay.
But the whole thing of dancing in front of people, I'm humbled by you saying that.
I literally see you dance probably like 3 times, and like this is before we really started having amount of conversation. I was just sitting there watching like
yeah. but in the back of my mind, I feel like I'm subconsciously holding myself back because I'm overthinking about people watching me. So that I always find it. That's the only reason why I usually find it surprising when you would say things like that, or people say that, because in the back of my mind I feel like I know I can do better than this. I know I can do better than this. But hearing that also helps me out too. But it's just a matter of just continuing to dance.
You're like thinking this, and we're also like other people are sitting there like, yo, this dude is cold.
I know, right?
You're like, I'm in my shell right now. I'm hearing that now. I'm like, this anxiety like of performing as a performer.
Yeah.
I get it. Actually, I do get it, but it's still like. It's a little weird when it comes to music to me.
Right.
Get the sense that this kind of performance should be more fluid.
Yeah.
You know, you have a sense of rhythm. You have a sense of that timing that comes with that. You know, you have the musicality. You have the ear. You have the pitch. It is perfect. No pun intended.
Right.
But you have all this. So I would think as a layman.
Right.
That it would be a more comfortable kind of space for you in anything that was like music related. But hearing that there's this there is this like unfamiliarity and this newness that comes from your musical, has come into your as part of your musical experience over the years,
right,
is actually really impressive and really cool, because it tells me like you as an individual are someone who, if you haven't heard it yet, you can appreciate it when you do hear it, and then 2, if you want to learn about it, you're really going to dive in and learn about it and make it your own and really live it authentically, which is dope, dude. You don't pass that stuff up, and that's important. I think that's super important.
Right. Yeah.
I think it's really, really cool, which is why again, I was talking to you about it earlier. But I was like, yeah, I bet you didn't know. Would be killing it on the dance floor. I mean that. So I'm sitting here because I think you might have been one of the first few people I actually saw dancing well, and I was like, what is this? This is amazing. This is what I want to see in this environment. So,
right.
Where my verse has been all my life. Oh, like an angry Frenchman. All my life. Fist to the sky. But it's really impressive to know that you have all these aspects of hip hop marked off. You mark off the elements in so many
man.
ways, from the emceeing to the breaking. If you tagged, did you tag? Did you ever tag?
I've never tagged, but I do have experience with art.
Okay.
Because my dad, I don't want to say was, because I do feel like he still has the skill. Mm-hmm. He is an artist.
You don't lose that.
Right. Him. Because I think he still like dabbles in sketches every once in a while. But no, he actually went to school for graphic arts, so he knows how to paint. He knows how to draw. And I grew up watching him work on sketches and stuff when he was doing this freelancing and stuff.
That's awesome.
But like, he watched a lot of Bob Ross, of course. And
really?
Yeah. And I'm a huge fan of Bob Ross because of him. Because like he could paint.
Yeah.
He like painting portraits and things of that nature. Doing original sketches, huge portrait sketches that he would used to do with family members and folks that his co-workers and stuff that he used to do when he was freelancing and stuff. So it's but I used to draw a lot when I was little too.
So you have the heart of a tagger in you.
I guess so.
The heart of a tagger. Because at the end of the day, at least to my knowledge, which is very minimal, admittedly, when it comes to graffiti.
Yeah.
I do understand part of the process is if you don't see it on the wall already, they would draw it out, and then they would take from that drawing and put it on the wall. Put it on whatever apparatus
exactly
they wanted to do, to fucking tag.
Yeah.
So the heart is there.
Right.
You're hitting these elements in such a after coming out of so many different kinds of music. And again, actually no. I had this conversation with Cordless Wonder too. Because even playing saxophone, for you, to me anyway, to some degree, you have to have had some experience with jazz. Jazz is like the precursor to hip hop.
It really is, yeah.
In a lot of ways, and blues was the precursor to jazz. You've gone through the paces of experiencing African American cultural music. Yeah. And that's no small feat. Anyone that says that has that experience, you're I can't help but admire it because I didn't know until I had to learn about this stuff. Like I didn't quite get it. I didn't quite grasp it. I didn't quite encompass it. But the way you have remember these times and these moments and these artists and all these people, I wish. I wish my memory, I had the space for those kinds of things, but I didn't experience them until way later in life. And now I'm sitting here like a true fan, just just looking up and the OGs, and they know so much, they have so much, they're so cool.
Oh my goodness.
So, okay, why then did you start teaching? If you wanted to it sounded like there was a point where you were trying to hit other aspects of the music industry when you're selling beats and you're writing rhymes.
Yeah.
Why did you go into teaching? And then, why did you still create music personally after you went into teaching?
Yeah. I needed something a little for, with pursuing a dream, of course, you're going to have your hardships and stuff, right? Yeah. And during that period of time, that was 2014. The year prior to that, I had just gotten hired on as a bookseller in the textbooks department at Georgia Tech because I was working at the Barnes & Noble over there. And so during that period of time, I was trying to, figure out what I wanted to do in order to kind of set a financial foundation so that way I could be able to take care of myself. So it started with that, trying to decide what I wanted, what direction I wanted to go. When I thought about it, as I mentioned before, when I got into teaching or got back into teaching, this time it was on my own terms, and I was like, okay. Maybe I can give this another shot, but this time again it's gonna be on my own terms. So that I began that process in 2014 with taking the gates, taking the music gates test and looking into how to get into it or whatnot, and so wasn't sure of exactly wasn't sure exactly what to expect when it came to how I was going to like it, or if it was for the purpose of building and teaching the kids and stuff like that. But it kind of grew into that. My teaching philosophy kind of developed over the years as to like the reason why, as far as my teaching philosophy, why I want to do it, as well as why I always had a focus on wanting to do elementary school, and it kind of developed into me wanting to take a get them while they're young approach, where I can do my best to teach music, make it fun, make it fun for them to learn, and also hopefully instill some positive values in the kids, to the point where hopefully with my hopes that at least a good number of them will be able to take it to heart, so that way the middle school and high school teachers ain't got to deal with no knuckleheads.
Right.
Because
they actually care.
Yeah, what I'm saying.
They care about.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Because one thing I noticed was that when the middle and high school teachers are dealing with these knuckleheads, it got to start somewhere.
Yeah.
And usually start in elementary school.
Yeah.
So that was one of the reasons why I've always been so focused on doing elementary school. Even right now, as I'm in between jobs because of my situation, which the situation surrounding me losing my job back in February. Even with me looking into other school districts and stuff, I still have a desire wanting to still stick with elementary. Even though technically I could do middle high school if I wanted to, because that's what my certificate is in, is in music education. And I learned, and when I went to West Georgia, when I went to University of West Georgia to get my certification, that was 2016, and finished up in 2020. Still surprised. I'm still amazed at the fact that I finished that during the freaking pandemic.
Congratulations.
I feel like I got my certificate in the middle of a freaking pandemic, finished my student teaching, and then everything shit then I did my 2 weeks of teaching full time, teaching all the classes at the school that I was assigned at, and right when I was finishing up, that's when everything started shutting down in March.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so the fact it's just the fact
the
that
timing is that's the Lord right there.
Right, exactly. Yeah, so it just kind of developed from there, and it developed from there. But it definitely also had a lot to learn too, when it came to like levels of discipline and classroom discipline methods, classroom management, and having to remember also making sure that I'm reminding myself and learn from experience as well as from watching other teachers and stuff, that yes, it is a different world. Yes, we are in the 21st century. Damn near in the middle of the 21st century right now.
Yeah, getting there.
Yeah. And it is not the 1990s. So certain disciplinary methods cannot be utilized that were utilized for us when we were in school in the 90s.
Kids up and shit, giving them a firm stare. This is not working anymore.
Yeah.
Kids will sue the hell out of you.
School. But but it's not, but we definitely for some people, it's out of love, because half the time they're not getting the discipline from the parents.
You know what? And honestly, so I was a camp counselor for a time for some Jewish kids. Okay. And I was pretty firm with them. Do you need some more to drink?
I'm good. Yeah, I'm good.
And they really appreciated it though. They didn't, because they said the exact same thing you said. They don't get it at home. Some of these kids really need it. That firm hand, really helps frame how you should be living life.
Yeah, right, exactly. So, but over time, you know, learning from my experiences and stuff, I, you know, my I'm trying to remember. I'm trying to think of the word. Having one of those brain fog moments right now. I'm trying to remember what word, different SAT words to use in real life. My and I had to say the word I want to use is on the tip of my tongue. I can't, for some reason I can't get it out. But the way I carry myself and the way I you know, the way my classroom management and discipline methods is set up, you know, I've come to develop it in a way there in which, you know, I'm firm, but I'm firm, but you can trust me. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Because I want you to know that I really do care about you and I want you to succeed. Yeah. So you know, it's over time it's developed to this point between the times I've worked full time to the times that I worked as a substitute teacher, between, you know, between the school districts that I've been a part of, or what have you. Even and it will continue until then. You know, God willing, I do find another district to call home. Whichever comes first. You know?
So why not college? Why not be like a professor?
Not my interest.
Okay.
Yeah. 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 I just, for college, it's just never been my. Yeah. It was just again public. It's just something about the public school that kind of like. I kind of gravitated towards that a lot more. Gotcha. Yeah, I gravitated towards that more.
Did teaching at all have like an impact on how you started creating music as time went on? Might you have been teaching something, or might you have heard something that a kid was just screwing around, playing with or on, and that ever clicked for anything that you were making at a personal level?
Not necessarily. Okay. No, not necessarily. It was more so me introducing that to them. Okay. Because one thing that I did like to do, I always liked incorporating hip hop in a lot of, even all the way down to whatever music I'm playing when the kids were walking into the classroom. Like for example, for 4th and 5th grade, I was always playing Dilla in the background.
That's dope. Oh my God, kids are so lucky.
I was always playing Jay Dilla instrumentals in the background as they walk into the classroom and stuff.
So lucky.
Yeah. Or utilizing hip hop within particular lessons, and with some of the concepts that we learned. And there were also times in which I would actually play I actually use my music, either by playing it for them, or actually using my music as part of the lesson. So yeah, it was, and that's something that I've always wanted to continue to do. And one thing that I have not had an opportunity to do, that I still want to do, is be able to utilize the education platform and use that as a way of teaching elementary kids production. And I know there's like programs that have done it before. I know a lot of middle school and high school programs have like music technology where they're able to learn that, but you know, I have yet to see that program physically in an actual elementary school setting. Yeah. Not to say that nobody is doing it. I know just within Georgia, I hadn't seen it. Yeah. I've always seen it in like after school programs or summer programs. Yeah. Like big shout out to my man Fireman. We got he has a studio in Jonesboro, in which he actually teaches music production to kids. And that's another person. Yeah, Legacy Recording Studios. That's the name of the studio. Legacy Recording Studios off of Terra Boulevard in Jonesboro. He runs a music studio. He does music education, teaching music technology and recording and production to the youth. And so another person I need to follow up with. So now that I'm thinking about it.
No, seriously.
Yeah, but as far as like in actual public school setting on the elementary level, I hadn't seen it.
Okay.
I hadn't seen it so far. And initially, that was something that my old principal at one of the schools that I used to teach at, that was something that we were planning on trying to implement. But I unfortunately ended up not being able to work there full time anymore because my initial certificate had expired during that period of time. So that kind of like put a monkey wrench in it because I had to go back and finish my certification program.
Yeah.
So during that period of time, after I stopped working there, then that's when I started subbing for a couple of years. That was also during the same time where I got my first SB404 and started messing around with that and learning how to use that because of the influence of controllerize during that time. So, but it was cool though because
planting seeds. You were planting seeds in
trying to. I still remember what one of the classes that I was subbing for in 2019. It was a third grade class. We go through our lessons and stuff like that, and doing the thing, and I get finished making them laugh and stuff, some stuff like that, because I always like using humor and making kids laugh, being goofy and stuff.
Means you're a good teacher.
Yeah. But I remember during that period of time, I had a goal of wanting to get the Gashi Box Volume 1 done before MomoCon, and during that time, I had a chance to play. Every time I finished a beat, I would play for them.
Oh, dude.
Yeah, so
That's tight.
So I got a chance to like showcase some of the tracks that were gonna be on the Gotcha Box Volume 1. The only track that I did not get a chance to finish by the time the school year ended and MomoCon was getting ready to start was the track that McPanther mentioned earlier, the Naruto flip that's on Volume 1, Ninja Way. I didn't get a chance to finish that and play that one for them, but I know they would have loved it. Yeah.
Naruto is their Dragon Ball Z.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. That and Dragon Ball GT, and when it comes to the video games, it's Fortnite and Minecraft and stuff.
God. Roblox. Yeah.
All of that stuff. All of those. But yeah, so that's so
Rocket League.
Yeah, so it was during that period of time while I was back and forth trying to finish that stuff up, that I was also actively working on the first volume of the anime series. And so Aquaboy comes out in April, then in May, right around MomoCon weekend in 2019, that's when I put out the Gashi Box Volume 1. And off and on, releasing Lucy's, and then 2020 rolls around, the pandemic is crazy, but I still managed to get a job at another school, the school that I was at before I lost the job. Putting out fillers, putting out singles on Bandcamp and SoundCloud, just trying to build that up and stuff, and then I finally break out of my comfort zone when it comes to streaming, and I decided to start streaming on Twitch finally, after having the daggone account since December of 2017 and not actually streaming at all.
What made you want to start streaming?
It was just a desire to want to do something different. And I was trying to find some type of outlet to kind of like trying to find an outlet to be creative in the midst of everything that was going on with the coronavirus running rampant and wrecking havoc and stuff during that period of time. And I first learned about Twitch through Mike Sick, because he was streaming on Twitch during that time, like 2017, 2018, doing his own thing on the gaming aspect. And then so I kind of like learned about it. It's like, okay, this is cool. Go ahead and I'll make an account. Never got around to doing anything until like, I want to say I kind of sort of messed around with streaming in 2019, but it wasn't until 2020 when I started like being more serious about it. But even during then, it honestly wasn't until the end of 2021 around 2022-ish when I actually started being more serious about being consistent with it, trying to actually make a schedule, and trying to figure out like what days I was going to do, you know. When I came up with my Music Mondays and Random Acts of Gaming Fridays that I still do, and then as the consistency of that started getting better, then I felt comfortable enough to start adding other days and stuff. So now I got like 4 different days that I do, where like every second and fourth Wednesday I do. Yeah, every second and fourth Wednesday I do. Wednesday Wind Down. That's my straight up variety stream.
Yeah, that was supposed to be tonight.
Yeah, but we're here.
Thank you for coming. But what about your other days?
Yeah, so we got Music Mondays. That's when I'm either listening to music or I'm primarily making beats on Music Mondays. Sometimes I may actually listen to music, or may actually listen to music. We may have a conversation or what have you. But primarily, I'm usually making beats. Sometimes it'll be an outside my comfort zone type of stream. Anytime I do the outside my comfort zone series is when I'm making music in something other than reason. Okay. And I started that off by, you know, streaming myself making music in Serato Studio, and then I picked that back up and was making music in Ableton, and then the last time I did it was really, it has a lot of hilarious moments in it. Well, it was when I was streaming myself using the current version of Fruity Loops for the first time ever. Even though I had experience with Fruity Loops, that was the only time that I used it in 2001 on my roommate's computer. That was the only time I used it, and so that was my first time using it in FL Studio form.
So like 19 years later.
Man, that stream had a lot of hilarious moments with trying to figure that joint out.
That's awesome.
And but we figured it out. Yeah, but you know, during the third stream, sometimes I like to do it in 3 parts. During the third stream, I finally was figuring it out, made a full track. Yeah, we could do it. I can use. I was like, yeah, I know how to use FL Studio for a little bit, and so, and I'm gonna keep tapping into that too. It's just I've been so focused on, again, like I said, Reason is my primary thing. So usually when I'm making stuff, I'm immediately thinking about Reason, even though I know I can make it in Ableton, I know I can make it in Serato Studio. So at some point in time, I need to like actually schedule some offline time to me for myself to just, you know, mess around, learn more about the other softwares, and just, you know, figure out, really flesh out what my workflow is, just like how I figured out my workflow in Reason. So I got to figure out my workflow in FL Studio whenever I mess with it. I kind of sort of figured out a workflow for Ableton because I have a little bit more experience with Ableton, even though I don't use it as much, but I've used it before in the past. So it's like when I did the stream for doing Ableton, it was more like more like hopping back on the bike, trying to remember how everything worked in Ableton. But then when I figured it out, made a couple joints on there. It was real cool. So that's Mondays. Then Wednesday Wind Down, that's my variety stream where I do whatever I feel like. And then Random Acts of Gaming, that's the more gaming centered joint. And then I recently added Sundays, whereas my self-care Sunday stream that I do around like 8-ish. And that came in response to me venting about the job situation. So like I gave myself like a week or two, because I went through a real bad depression episode because I was like really, because of how everything went down, and once I felt mentally good enough, I just decided to just hop on, do a self-care Sunday stream, let my folks know what I was dealing with, and that, you know, we're gonna move forward or what have you. But then the whole idea of doing a Sunday stream for the purpose of self-care, mental health type of thing, I actually kind of like that. So that's what I started doing on Sundays. So yeah, that's my current schedule right now with Music Mondays, Wednesday Wind Down every second and fourth Wednesday, Random Acts of Gaming on Fridays, and then self-care Sundays on Sundays.
And I want to make sure that this is very well known to, because Actually, it's fine in California. Nelacthebeatninja, twitch.tv/Nelacthebeatninja. Please make sure you give him a follow if you haven't. I can't see anyway. I'm looking at you on this screen. You actually have the camera. I'm just sitting here like, this is a weird, it feels weird. Anyway, those Music Mondays, Wind Down Wednesdays, Random Acts of Gaming Fridays, and Self-Care Sundays. These sound like very personal. So Twitch streaming is a very personal experience for you.
Right.
You let it become, no, this is good. It's like an outlet. It sounds like an outlet for you. But a lot of people do this shit and they try to make a living out of it. NELAC, I work in this industry. Don't do that. Okay? Just have fun with it and keep it being that. Trust me. I have been working in streaming, not streaming, but in like gaming for my career.
Okay.
That's from when I worked at E-League and we did productions and high quality competitive streams to now working for Warner Brothers Games and for focusing on esports, but working with our live stream like individual as well. He's good people. His name's Ryan. Look. You fight an uphill battle because this shit's been going on for a long time. Not only you, but like anyone that's trying to become a professional streamer and all this shit. Like, it may seem like the time's right now. I mean, go for it, but like you shouldn't. Just enjoy what you're doing, love it, and make the most out of that. And if people come, they will. And then you'll find yourself in that position where you're this. You see what a professional streamer's like, unless they're doing something that's like topical to what's going on in current events. It's usually just the people that really enjoy their stream and have been consistent. So I hope you're able to keep your stream going consistently as time continues onward, because I think things are gonna get rough again, and I do think that people are gonna need an outlet. You know, in streaming, I can tell you right now, Twitch has been keeping an eye on the music space of Twitch. And they are still, at least as of last year, from when I was in a meeting with some people from the Twitch team, they are still looking for ways to incorporate music into Twitch and kind of give it more of a focus. And they're going to need a pool of people to pull from. So if anyone's making music and, you know, since you're doing those things, like I would say keep that up, because I think as time goes on, it's going to become a big component of Twitch, because this is kind of their avenue to get into the music industry, without really having to, you know, become an A&R or some kind of shit like that, you know. All right, that's a bit duly noted. Just keep that in mind, man. This space is, you know, it's a lot like the music industry in a lot of ways, at least from what I've heard through anecdotes. And so, you know, in that same way, just that consistency and that the footwork is streaming. You know, the footwork is also going to like TwitchCons and shit. But I've never been to a TwitchCon. I'm not going to go to one unless work sends me to one which they have no reason to do. We go to fighting game tournaments here at GudGameTV. But you know, that is a way. A lot of people make connections, and you meet the Twitch team and all these other streamers, and you learn about what goes on. Blah 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 blah. That's your sauce. Do it. But otherwise, the self-care. That aim, muy bien, magnifique, okay? So, this wasn't an opportunity that was available in the 2000s, right? This was something that came sometime toward the end of beginning of the 2010s, Justin TV, transitioning over to Twitch.tv around like 2013, 2014, if I remember correctly. What opportunities are available now for music creatives that weren't available before, and what of those opportunities do you find yourself utilizing for you?
The networking. Offline and online, because back then, you talking about late 90s, early 2000s, and even during like the beginning era, the beginning stage of my my college career, there really wasn't any like there was no such thing as were no such thing as beat battles.
Really?
There were no such thing as like that to my knowledge during that time. And last I remember, you if you wanted to get on music industry wise, you had to know somebody. You had to know somebody to know somebody. Yeah, know somebody. You know, and being able, and in order to get into those spaces. Yeah. You know, or at least had that hookup, like having like a manager and things of nature, or or somebody happening to listen to a demo that you would send in to places. Because there were times I did that too, as a producer and as an artist. I remember like sending demos to try to in order for my music to be considered for like different opportunities and stuff like that. I remember doing that too, but then you had events like Dynamic Producer that was big at the time during like 2003, 2004, 05. That was a producer conference. Okay. That was one of the first. That was one of the first of its kind. Big shout out to Felicia, my homegirl Felicia. She was the CEO and founder of Dynamic Producer, a black woman that put this together. Go, shout out to the black woman.
Let's go, baby.
Yes.
They make it happen.
Shout out to the black woman.
They do it like the sisters.
You know what I'm saying?
They don't do it like the sisters.
No, they don't. They do not. And she's still doing her thing, and she's still doing her thing in the tech and app world as well currently. But it was thanks to her that there were a lot of producers that were not known, that did not have those special connections to get their foot in the door, that they were able to foster some of these relationships through conferences such as the Dynamic Producer Conference. When it came to the beat battles that they hosted, the beat challenge showcases, and even opportunities to play your music for these industry heads that were at these panels and stuff, that you had that opportunity at Dynamic Producer. Prior to that, there wasn't anything like that, and then the beat battles were also really good networking opportunity too, regardless of whether you won or lost. And,
I learned that last year. I learned that.
Yeah, so it's like because you still getting your name out there. You know what I'm saying? And I feel like that was kind of like gradually even though I wasn't as consistent as I know I could have. And then on top of that, I also had like life stuff happening to where I wasn't able to go to a lot of these things. But there are a lot of producers that I've seen at some of these Atlanta beat battles that are doing big things now because of that name that they built for themselves in spaces such as that. And now with technology, you have the ability to do that online. You have these opportunities such as the sample flip challenges that a lot of people do on social media. You got the online beat battles that they have. Like matter of fact, shout out to Q for letting me know about that.
Next battles.
Yeah, the next battles joints. And hilariously enough, she DM'd me the link to I think it's pronounced Coyote. I'm pretty sure I said that wrong. But I started following it before she sent it to me because I saw it on her story. I saw it on the story. I was like, and they're doing this in the form with the video game battle aesthetic. Mm-hmm. Let me check this out real quick. And I followed the producer and I followed his brand and stuff like that. And I definitely plan on checking it out some more. And then later on, she ended up tagging me in the thing like great minds think alike. Great minds think alike. But yeah, I'm definitely going to. But again, this did not exist back in the 90s. This did not exist back in the early 2000s and stuff. Wow. You know what I'm saying? Because at that time, the internet was at its infancy. Yeah. I still remember. I still remember a time that there was no such thing as no internet. So it's crazy.
get you something else to drink?
I'm good.
I'm like I hope.
No, I'm good. No, I appreciate it. No, I'm not. I've been enjoying this. I'm just savoring it. I love it.
I'm like, I want to fill this cup so bad.
You know, it's all good. It's all good. But nah, but yeah, it's like that's some of the things that I have been doing, trying to utilize social media to utilizing social media for that in that respect. Yeah. And I'm trying to do a better job of utilizing social media just for that, and not death scrolling, and not using up and wasting all my time doing that instead of doing something productive with my life and falling into freaking depression. Oh, this anxiety and shit like that. That's the danger of social media right there. But I'm working on that. But it's a whole lot of, and I know a lot of people can relate to that. That's listening to this under the sound of my voice. I know you can relate to that too. Like say, we got to do a better job putting phone down. Or we're gonna end up always having ADHD tendencies like me. But when used in the proper way, the internet has been a really good source of networking because of these opportunities that have been presented by way of social media through sample challenges like through TrackLib, or beat battles per se, and other sample challenges. I've met a couple of people. I've met some producers through sample challenges that I've hosted on Twitter, and I was inspired. And I was inspired by DiBiase when he was doing his sample flip challenges, his DB flip challenges on Twitter. Yeah. And I met DB. It's like, and it's funny we mentioned DiBiase earlier. I met him through Controllerize because that was that year, 2018, when he came down for A3C. Mm-hmm. I think this was the second year in a row that Controllerize was featured in A3C and had a little booth and set doing their thing. Yeah. And then DiBiase played beats at one of our actual Controllerize events. This is when we had the separate press start at Deep End, and then still like another the regular Controllerize event. But then over time, he pretty much decided to just merge both of them together. Yeah. and it ended up becoming bigger because it was the regular Controllerize thing, but then the vibe of press start. Okay. Put them together. That's the 2.0 version of Controllerize, where there's the dancing, there's the video games, there's the DJing. Because initially there's the good food that was at the Deep End, and big shout out to Cartridge ATL too, because Cartridge, the guys that run Cartridge, they were working at the Deep End, and that's how I met them. You know what I'm saying? Yep. I know exactly what you mean. You know what I'm saying? It's so hilarious how that worked out, or what have you. And but yeah, so it's like initially it was just like a chill thing, where it's like you got your games. That was set up by the homie Game Master Herb. Mm-hmm. Big shout out to him. I think he's living on the West Coast now with his husbands. But the last time I talked to him, he had actually tuned in. He actually tuned into one of my streams. Awesome. And was hanging out for a little bit. I think that was during the time when I was first getting ready to release PTSA. That was played earlier on the stream that you guys were rocking out to. I appreciate y'all. Yeah. Shit is dope. Yeah, I appreciate the love on those flips. Yeah, so cause I saw earlier when I first came in, somebody was really feeling the Killer Instinct flip. That was a Yeah. So but yeah, and that was fun. And a lot of those influences. A lot of that was me being around Stolen Drones and watching his process. I ain't know nothing about sidechain compression or sidechaining until I heard their stuff. Really? You know what I'm saying? And then I figured out how to do it in Reason, and it's like, yes.
So what's sidechain?
That's pretty much it's a form of compression that pretty much kind of like drastically drops the volume of the music and it's usually triggered by an instrument or a sound that where the side chain is running through. Okay. It's kind of like an effect thing. You hear side chain a lot in EDM music. That when you hearing that swelling, K Tronada used it a lot too. Yeah. With that 4 on the floor, that's a side chain compression. Okay. Yeah. But in a lot of lo-fi hip hop, you hear the side chain going through the kick drum. So every time the kick drum drops, the kick drum comes in, the music kind of drops out and then comes in. It creates like a vinyl kind of like distorted kind of effect. Okay. And of course you hear that a lot in a lot of Stolen Drums old stuff. Yeah. From Veggie Tacos because he was using side chain compression with his kicks that way. So
Drums also offers lessons and
calls the students the Side Chain Society.
That's where this comes from.
Yeah, awesome. Shout out to the Side Chain gang.
Shout out.
Yes.
Shout out to Big Panther.
I gotta check up with them anyway, cause you know they always do their like Thursday Zoom sessions and stuff, so I'm gonna be tapping in with them. I keeps my monthly $20 membership with them active for all of the knowledge that you will get in that damn Discord. So much knowledge.
Really?
So much knowledge, man.
Side Chain Society Discord?
Yes, that's the Side Chain Society. Yeah, Drums has a Discord server specifically for Side Chain Society. Yup. Yeah, and also big shout out to Wolf Morpheus, who's also a member of Side Chain Society. He does an event on Thursdays. I'm actually doing a beat set at that event tomorrow. In the dark joint. Yep. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. Wolf Morpheus is Side Chain. Yep.
I did not know that Wolf Morpheus was part of the Side Chain.
Yep.
Oh my God, this is all the connections. Everything's weaved and interlocked in ways that I'm sitting here like still learning about them. I'm such a fan.
That's what the name the Side Chain Society name is, a play off of the side chain compression technique in music. Yeah, that's where it comes from.
Very cool. So of all these opportunities that you started utilizing, just in your time, like over the same amount of time, like what are some opportunities you have encountered for your music career that you kind of denied, and why? Has that happened?
To my knowledge, I guess just not necessarily on purpose, but just by happenstance. I know I found myself really not being, and not necessarily like physically denying, but just not being that interested in doing things like listening feedback sessions like a lot of YouTube producers do on their live streams and stuff.
To a bunch of other people's music
and give critique and feedback and things of that nature. I found myself not really being interested in doing industry mixers like I used to do when I was pushing when I was on my lyrical preacher push, and performing and trying to do open mic performances there. And
what was that stuff like? Those kinds of mixtures, and those are like.
Thinking back on it, interesting.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just interesting to me, and I think a lot of it is because of the fact that there was that aura, there was that air of people wanting to get on and trying to make major moves or whatnot. But over time, I felt like a lot of these industry mixers, especially the ones in Atlanta, because of having done so many before, and also doing the open mics, there were a lot of moments and times where whenever I would do an open mic as a artist, where I started not feeling like I was really gaining anything.
Okay.
Especially when a whole bunch of indie artists, local artists, are clamoring to get on the list, and which causes you to get pushed back all the way to the freaking end of the damn event when there's hardly anybody in there, which has happened to me on numerous occasions. But I'd still get on that stage and rock it like there's 100 people in there.
Yeah.
You know, that's always the mentality I always the mentality I always had whenever that would happen.
Was there anything you noticed about the people who were kind of clamoring at these mixers to make a big move? Was there like any common traits or behaviors that you noticed about these people?
There was a certain level of hunger of wanting to do their thing and prove something, for lack of better terms. And funny enough, a few of these artists at a lot of these events that a lot of these open mics I've done, they have come to be known locally, even if just on a local level. But they've had some success, and and I'm happy for them. But yeah, that was the primary thing. I know for some they've continued, others I don't know what they're doing now. But like, it's just that over time, we're going back to the whole aura of the events. They started being more of a cash grab than anything else.
So you had to pay to go to these?
Or
was it like a cash grab? Like these people are looking for people with money.
Or more so that all they doing is just trying to generate income with the event itself.
Oh.
And just trying to make money with the event, and not necessarily provide. Not to say that not all of them provided opportunities, depending on who was there and who they had, coming out. Yeah. For example, my homie Kelby with Making the Magazine, his events always were a vibe, and I'm pretty sure still are. Because he's still doing his thing, and I haven't been at any of his events in a while. I need to. There's so many people I need to follow up with because Kelby always looked out for me, because I had an opportunity to perform during South by Southwest as local preacher because of doing stuff with through him or whatnot, doing different opportunities and stuff. But his events. And other people who did events like Making a Magazine, those were like the those were like the special cases. Everybody else, it seemed like they just wanted to put an event out and just make money, and make money off of the people who are performing, because yes, a lot of these places you got to pay to perform.
That's ridiculous.
And a lot of people still do it.
I despise
that. And that's one of the things. That's one of the reasons why I kind of lost interest in wanting to actually make a name for myself as an artist through that avenue. And I just got to the point where I'd rather just if I feel like performing, I'll do it, and I'll just utilize my platform and just kind of push it, and thankfully, because of me being a producer, I have that opportunity to just focus on that. especially if I run, especially if I run into any like any writer's block moments and stuff like that. I still got my music and to do that or whatnot. But
that's another opportunity. You can use your music now, like you're saying, to get to a place where you're doing sets and God knows where, at a very high level.
Yeah, exactly. So, but those were the main ones. I just kind of like lost interest in doing because of the whole. Especially considering the fact that we live in a completely different world now, where we do not need to try to put on a face for these music industry cats, these major industry cats, especially be due to the fact that if done the right way, you do not need them. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? So it's a whole lot different because, like, once again, there's the difference between the era I grew up in and where we are now. It's like getting on with the major label was the flex. Major label was the flex. Now, doing it yourself could be a flex. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Honestly, I already use more of one.
You know
more of one now to do it independently than it was to be with a label.
Exactly. But yeah, that's the world that's the world we live in now.
Well, here I can tell you right now. One, I would rather put my capital that I earn toward investing in experiences like this and the battles, because getting to meet individuals like yourself and to see and hear the craft and the care, it is the highest honor I get in my week, in my month, in my year. I've done now probably 15 of these interviews, and every time it feels so good. I feel so warm and like very humbled and honored, dog. Like, you don't understand, because I'll be sitting posted up, kind of like a crow. Just, These people seem really dope. I wonder what would happen if I talk to them.
Oh my god!
Am I gonna be rejected? Like, what's gonna happen? And then I fly off. And, puns and jokes aside, would you be? I know it's late. So would you still be interested in doing a 15-minute set? I know it's late.
Yeah, I know. Man, like we was having a whole full out conversation and just like getting deep into like our loves and nostalgia. I've been enjoying this.
I'm glad you. So I'm happy you came on, dog. Like, it has been like a very like warming experience, because I have not talked to you that much.
Yeah.
I'm like a little weird when I step out, just because I like intimate experiences where we can like sit and it'll be a whole vibe. It's a small crew.
Exactly.
People that know what's up. Like, if it was like you, cute, like a bunch of other producers and stuff, and all the crowd, that would be a better place for me, because I'd be able to sit there and listen to y'all, just love y'all shit, and I'd be like, this is the best experience in my life ever. So, like, yeah, that being said, though, I know it's late. So if you don't want to, it's okay. But if you do want to, that would be dope.
I'm all for it. Like, you know good and well I was not about to leave without doing my dad beat set.
I don't. That's what I asked. The biggest point of all this is you all have a choice. I think, no, but like, seriously, I think choice is something, at least from what I hear and have seen, and when we hear about the industry, it seems like choice is something that starts to go more and more out the window.
Oh man!
Like, there's this pseudo choice that we have. It's not real.
Yeah.
You don't actually have a choice. You got to do it this way, or someone's gonna do it that way for you, or we're getting to a point where they can use you now without you needing to be there to do what they want to do.
Right. No, I get it.
That kind of shit breaks my heart. That's why, setting up the interviews, all that, like, that's in you all's hands. If you all want to do it, I'm cool. If you all don't, I'm cool. This is just something really fun that I wanted to do.
For sure.
This experience in the scene, you all's life experiences.
Exactly.
Get these stories
all good. All good.
Get this SP right now.
You need a quarter. Okay, we'll be right back. If everyone's cutting our mics real quick, I'm gonna play some more music. And while we get set up, we'll be back very momentarily. Be patient. Just be patient. That's all. is like the second time this has happened ever. So bear with us. Thank you. There's 2 minutes and 59 seconds left. I don't know where you all left off at, but I will tell you this. There is going to be a slight cut in the session VOD that gets posted on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
All the same, I'm also going to still push for people to check out your PTSD.
Exactly.
So
V Money and I already know about this because one of our homies, Yarn Goddess Cosplay, always keep running into the same crap too.
Yep.
What the dad going? Let me guess what? Like the frame rate was up there dropping like crazy and stuff.
No, honestly, it literally just crashed. Like I'm sitting here.
OBS
this is the first time
that
this has happened. Last because OBS is trash. Yes, but
okay.
This is the first time this has happened like this. Anyway, I'm going to get the clock back going for you. Actually, let me do this.
So, everybody in the chat, when OBS was being a bitch,
yes.
Was I in the middle of the Super Metroid flip?
I think you were.
Can y'all let me know?
I think you were.
Okay. Because if it was, I'll run that back for y'all.
Okay. And then we're just gonna do a start at 3, and we'll finish up this 3.
Okay.
And yeah. All right. We're back. I'm turning down our mics.
is a NELAC production.
This is my ninja way!
Don't you forget it, okay? And don't you forget it,
Yes,
okay?
Yes, sir.
At all. A NELAC production
Yes.
and his ninja way. I
Yes.
love the way you've owned this moniker and adopted in the way you use these tags in your these call outs in your music.
Yeah,
I love the implementation of all these aspects of gaming in your music. There are things I didn't think I would ever get to hear. I never thought I would ever get to hear. I never thought of that you're doing, and I'm sitting here like, it's like I sit in the Back to the Future car and it's just sending me back. Constant fucking like, but I'm not going back to the past. I'm just on a wild ride. Like that's how crazy this shit is. It's absolutely wild. Okay.
Hilarious.
So you don't have that feed up because that when OBS crashed, like it did, like a little bitch. Over there acting like a punk. Okay, so you're gonna have this feed here. I need you to pay attention to that. So normally, I grab a gift on the go for blessing us with these amazing beats. Like, sure, there's the financial, you all get paid and whatever, but there's something else that I would like to give. Not unfortunately, fortunately, actually. I have an opportunity to show a new item as well as saying no. Anyway, as well as when that make lower thirds, don't turn off the source. That's fine. As well as let you know that this is something that I'm going to get for you. Okay. So when we're done with this here, I'm actually going to need your address. I'm going to have to send you something. Okay. So when I saw this, a buddy of mine. He owns a company called Madison Company. He makes these really original designs. They're super dope. I've talked about him a lot. I'm not going to give the whole spiel right now because it is late. Right, yeah. That being said, I think this is the right first one I want to show you. This particular image right here is currently on a shirt. This is a new image. No one has seen this before. As you can tell, it has a lot of odes to the classic Shaw Brothers films of the day. Yeah. This is the corresponding shirt that's going to come with it. This is going to be yours. Oh, wow. I'm going to be getting this for you. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day, literally the last 5 hours, damn near, to come through here, share your story, share your experience, share your wisdom, share your perspective. I really appreciate that a lot. Share your music. So this will be coming your way when it's released. It's actually not getting released until May. So this is the very first time, and there are so few people here. It's fine because my buddy was like, "Man, it's gonna be alright." I'm like, this is the first time anyone's getting to see this design outside of his homies, his close homies. So it's coming. It's gonna be at MomoCon. He's gonna be selling it. We're gonna get it ahead of when he gets it. I'm gonna get it to you. So you'll probably be one of the first few people to actually have the product. Oh man, I'm a priority shipping kind of guy. Nice. So okay. That's coming your way. Be on the lookout for that. Okay. Thank you so freaking much for being a part of this. Thank you to everyone that tuned in and listened. McPanther, Straight G, always here with the information to save the day. I always appreciate it.
Yeah, shout out to McPanther for seriously. Yeah.
McPanther, I feel like McPanther's lived multiple lives. And he's I think he's only like 2 years older than me. Okay. I feel like he's lived like multiple
right, yeah.
I feel like he's lived multiple lives. But yeah, thank you. Nelacthebeatninja, where can people find you on social?
Alright, so pretty much the majority of everything is just like the Twitch username, NELAC, the Beat Ninja. The IG is Nelacthebeatninja. The Facebook is Nelacthebeatninja. Yes, I still post every once in a while on Facebook, even though I'm not on there as much. And then with the Twitch, it's kind of sort of that way, but they still playing with the whole number of characters they give you, so I had to shorten it to NJA for Ninja. So that's Nelacthebeatninja on Twitter. The website, which will take you to my BeatStars page for any artists, any rappers and singers that's interested in leasing or buying beats, as well as any streamers and content creators that want to lease beats. specifically.
As well as any concert promoters, con experiences, tournament experiences that are looking for a DJ or music to put on their live streams and bring to their shows.
Yeah, so NELACthebeatninja.com is where you can find all that information. I also just recently started a Ko-fi page, so you can hit me up at kofi.com/NELACthebeatninja if you want to if you want to donate for anything that I'm doing. I just put up a donation. Just put up a donation goal so that way I could be able to go to MomoCon next month. And I also created 2 commissions. This right here is specifically for the content creators and streamers, not for anybody else. Where I'm doing beat commissions right now. I'm doing $50 and $100 beat commissions. The $50 commission is for an original beat that's 2 minutes or less. The $100 commission is for original music that's longer than 2 minutes. Big shout out to Maple Zaddy, V Money, and I know them. They're a very dope non-binary creative that is based in Canada. Is also a member of the Yarnling gang with Yarn Goddess, who's a crochet cosplayer.
That's awesome.
They're really dope. And they're also based here in Atlanta as well.
That's dope.
I did my first commission for Maple Zaddy for them. So that was like the very first one. So yeah, if it's less than 2 minutes, $50. If it's longer than 2 minutes, $100 for any music that you're looking for intro music, outro music that you want to play in the background, or music that you want for your reels, your TikTok, whatever you need. Just hit up the Ko-fi and book your boy for a commission.
You heard it here, folks. This has been Good Talks and Good Vibes. This is actually now the longest one that we've had this year. Swear. I thought Francois last week was going to be the longest, but this is the longest one we've had.
Oh my
God.
God.
I'm so glad because part of me was like yesterday I was thinking about this could be a minute if I really let, And that was kind of plotting, I'm not going to lie.
Yeah.
I know it's really late. It's almost 1 a.m. I'm going to get you Uber. But thank you again for coming in and talking and sharing you and being yourself. I really appreciate you doing this. This is really, really cool. I'm glad we got all of it saved. We actually have all of it saved. Yeah. And even from the pickup, we should be good. So
awesome.
Everything will be put together and it'll be fine.
For sure.
This won't be the only experience that I reach out to you for. I'm sure, the same as last year, people be like, oh, let me know if you need anything else. And it did. This 4 hours went by. Because there were times where I'm sitting here looking like, I look at someone like, fuck! I need to get him out of here. Like, I can't keep him here. Like this, he's like a prisoner right now.
Luckily for me, I am currently temporarily unemployed, so I'm not worried about it because my sleep schedule is screwed up.
Shout out to a fucked up sleep schedule.
Shout out to insomnia.
Insomnia.
Oh my God. I am trying to get that in check though, but that's all good.
Look, I'm actually trying to develop it because all the insomniacs, if you type your address in there, all the insomniacs, they seem to get a lot of work done. Now, I know they say you should get your rest and blah, 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 but all my cool friends don't sleep. Like, NELAC has insomnia. I want to be cool too. They work hard and do cool shit. Like, okay. But thank you. Seriously. This is an honor, and I don't get, like I said to you earlier, I don't get to do this without individuals like yourself and others who've been like, yo, sure, we'll come to your battles. Sure, we'll do these things. You all have a choice. And you could have said no. And you didn't. That means a lot. No, for real, it really does mean a lot. Without Controller Eyes existing in the same way that our frames wouldn't be where they are now, GudGameTV would not exist as it does now. If not, thank God, first and foremost, let's get that out of the way.
Yes.
Shabbat Elohim, all praise
that
sir. This happens because of the Spirit. Now, because my spirit led me to find Controller Eyes, this doesn't become what it was, what it is now without Controller Eyes. It's probably
shout out to the game.
It wouldn't be as cool as Controlerize makes life cool.
Man, yeah.
Adults from all of our influences, the anime, the video games, all of it makes our life cool. You know, and it wasn't back in the day, and now it is. It's a very different world we live in. So, all praise. This shit has been cold-blooded. We gotta get NELAC home. You gonna follow him.
Leave me alone, B-Money. Stop it.
I promise.
I know exactly what she's talking about too. Like this, cause I know what she's talking about.
Let's get out of here. I'm actually closing the stream this time versus it crashing. So thank you all for tuning back in tuning in general, and I hope you have a great night. Thank you for coming. I hope you have a great night.
For sure. Thank you so much for having me. Thank y'all for tuning in, guys. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Peace.
All right.